Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape. Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. 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 Grind the tape.
The tape.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
The tape.
UGA game day, boy, we ball out. Pull up, put the whole conference in the doghouse. Leave them 6 feet, see me on the win streak. All-star status, go coach, and the bench deep.
Right.
Offense on 10, how we run it? Your best ain't nothing, we gon' send them boys punting.
Yeah.
Black and red, got them dead on arrival. Defense hunkered down for the tie. Hey, you don't want it with the dogs. Film guy on it, you don't want it with my dog. Break it down, play by play, that's the day-to-day.
Yeah.
They know we ain't come to play, boy, it's UGA. Kirby smart, I cannot play the fool. Back to back, we did not come to lose. Back to back, like we got something to prove. Pay your dues, dog nation on the move. What's up?
We doing a little bit different around here.
We ain't gonna play, we ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape. The tape.
We ain't gonna play, we ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play, we ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Shut up. Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play, we ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape. The
Shut
tape.
up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
Shut up and grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape.
Shut up and grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
Shut up. The tape.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
Tweet, we're live. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guy Network on a fabulous Monday evening. Already with the giggles and the chuckles. What's going on?
There was so much emphasis on that F there.
I mean, dude, it is a fabulous Monday evening. And I feel like, dude, a topic of discussion of ad nauseum we've been talking about for 3 years finally came to a head. Does it done pop? That's the way I feel. I don't know how you guys feel, but that's the way I feel about House versus NCAA. And it popped on a Saturday where I had to sit on my hands and let the takes culminate for 48 hours before I could delightfully come to this here microphone and spew some hot takes about this House versus NCAA nonsense. Don't you feel that way?
No, yeah,
I feel pent up. I feel like I got pent up aggressive takes.
That's fine. You've never said fabulous like that before. Fabulous.
Fabulous.
Careful.
Why are you saying it that way?
Careful, you're gonna peek the mic.
Oh no! Hey, we done. That's all I'm really doing. I'm really just testing audio to make sure we actually made the right corrections. I think we do. Normally by this time, the chat doesn't let us know. Turn up the mics. Turn up the mics. We got them turned up. It's going to be a good day. We got a loaded one for you. House versus NCAA has indeed finally reached a settlement, and we have another edition of Brooks Reads So You Don't Have To. It's anonymous coach quote season, and we got a plethora of them. I'm talking about a litany. I'm talking about any, what do you call those? Synonyms you got for a lot. I got a lot of anonymous quotes I want to bring you guys tonight. Oregon sustains a major injury. Our first real major injury of the offseason since Tennessee dropped the corner, I believe, if my memory serves me correct. One worth talking about here on the show. Pac-12 making a comeback, or at least trying to.
It's back.
All I know is that we suck at counting.
It's the WAC-12. I think it's what I'm going to call this one for right now. Maybe the Midwest version of the WAC-12. We're going to get to it tonight. It's trying to make a comeback, and I think I got some tidbits on that one for you as well. We got a big year 3 coaches theory going around on this network. Hey, by year 3, you either are or you aren't as a college football coach. We got some coaches entering that culmination of year 3. Hey, let's go ahead and mute the notifications, big dog. Let's go ahead and mute the noties. That's a fine. Okay, pull it out. I'm pulling it out of the contract.
Dang, you couldn't even make it
That's
2 weeks
a
into the
fine.
month.
2-cent fine. a cent a ding.
Damn.
What do these fines go to?
Yeah,
Charity.
Oh, okay.
She's a
2
real
cents.
nice lady. Lives right up the street. Needs some help.
That's the ultimate dad joke right there.
College Football Hall of Fame, and much, much more on tonight's show. Make sure you go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. If it's your first time watching tonight, you're going to have a good time, okay? If you're very confused about this House versus NCAA stuff, what's going on in the world of college football, I'm going to make it dummy-proof for you tonight because Lord knows I had to absorb it myself. Let's go ahead and start there, boys. It was the big news of the weekend. Let's talk about it. House versus NCAA has been settled. I feel like I first brought this to the attention of our audience, I want to say in about January of 2023. Does that sound about right?
Feels
I feel
right.
like that's when the first inklings of it were first dropped.
I know for a fact it's been a main topic of discussion on this network since you two have gotten microphones.
Yes.
So we've
Yes.
at least been talking about it since August of 2023. I think our audience, based off the conversation and the literal discourse I've seen in our Discord, our audience, I feel like, is really, really educated on what is going on with this settlement, why it was important, when it was coming down, what it ultimately was going to lead to, and the fallout or the repercussions of this settlement are exactly what we kind of forecasted it was ultimately going to be, right? A $2.8 billion settlement that will be allotted to players that played college football from 2016 until now. Okay, that does not include the 20.5 annual rev share that we're going to talk about here in a second. That's the settlement for players previously. Now, my question is, I played some D2 ball for 2 years, 16, 17. You think I get some bread? Probably not. Maybe.
You might even get some
2.6
eligibility.
billion, they got some money to throw around. There's probably going to be some people that don't file the right amount, right paperwork to get their bread, which means maybe I get some of mine. I doubt it, though.
What do you think? What would you be happy with if you
I don't know if they pay me $1 a win, I get 7 of them hoes. We didn't win a lot of football.
$7.
Buddy, we
In
did
this
not
economy?
win. Oh, yeah, in this economy. I can't even buy a McDonald's meal.
No.
They're garbage.
You
Garbage.
get about 2 gallons of gas.
Maybe. Oh, kill that sucker. You got him. You got him.
my hand.
Nah, he's yours, dude. He's yours right now. Oh! Did you?
Oh, he's right there.
Did he?
You got him.
He did. That a boy.
Impressive.
Hell yeah,
That a boy. That's good stuff right there. Anyways, back to this. $2.8 billion being paid out to previous college football players. Here's the important groundwork for what's moving forward in college football. $20.5 million annual salary cap for the 2025 and 2026 calendar year, okay? That will inevitably increase year over the next decade per the reporting that I read today. The majority of college football programs that are major college football competitors, okay? They have already, most of them, come out on record saying they're going to spend about 16 of that 20 on football in and of itself. Now, that's the salary cap, okay? That's the amount of revenue sharing dollars you are allowed to allot to your student athletes on an annual basis. $20.5 million is free play. You can go out and pay for play any athlete you want with that $20.5 million. It's free. You can go do whatever you want with the school. You obviously have to take it out of your athletic budget, but you're able to do with that whatever you want. Now, the next question that comes off of that is that's the salary cap. What about this NIL stuff that we've been going on with for years in years prior? What about these collectives? What about these massive amounts of dollars that have been pulled together and have been thus satisfying the pay-for-play need for these athletes over the last 3 or 4 years? Well, from now on, that's going to have to pass through something called NIL Go. Okay, what is NIL Go? That's that company Deloitte we've been telling you about for a long, long time. Okay, any deal north of $600, any amount of income registered to a student athlete north of $600 will have to go through NIL Go, and this company will ultimately deem whether or not that deal is quote unquote passable. Okay, NIL deals moving forward are going to have to be quote real. You're going to have to go to events. You're going to have to actually make marketable dollars. Okay. From my understanding, guys, when NIL was first rumored in like 2018, 2019, this was supposed to go through some type of clearinghouse. There was supposed to be, hey, you can't just give Jimmy a bunch of money because he goes to your school. Jimmy's going to actually have to do something for that marketing dollars, for those marketable monies. It's name, image, and likeness, not I committed to Texas A&M. I committed to Georgia. Give me my money. That's not how this is going to work moving forward. Any tangible dollars are going to have to go through NIL Go, which is basically the Deloitte company. Also, and I know we're going to open up for questions. Hold them for just a second because I know there's a bunch of them. Also, there's been a CEO named out of all of this. Everybody's been talking about college football needs a commissioner. Well, they just got one, but they really didn't get one. We're calling him the head fed around here. That's his entire job title based off what they released today. His name is Brian Seeley. He used to work for Major League Baseball. He is Tony Petitti's buddy. Okay, Tony Petitti, the CEO or the commissioner of the Big Ten. My man Seeley, from the exact release today, quote, this is his job title. His job is to build out the organization's investigative and enforcement teams and oversee all of its ongoing operations and stakeholder relationships. Seeley and his team will also be responsible for enforcement of the new rules around revenue sharing, student athlete, third-party name, image, likeness, deals, and roster limits. In other words, my man Brian Seeley, head fed. This is the man who's going to come up after you if you break these rules they just put into place.
I mean, it's a fun nickname, but that literally describes exactly
That's what he
he's
is.
going
He's
to
the
do.
head fed.
He's the head fed of this.
And that's why I'm glad they put it in terms because we laughed on this network for years. All you goofies saying you want to be the commissioner of college. No, you don't. No, you don't. They're going to cook you and fry you as a fan base. Your likable image, it doesn't exist. It won't exist. You're there to hold people accountable for breaking rules. Everybody loves to support the blue until they get a speeding ticket. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. This is the guy whose job is to sign the speeding tickets and throw your ass in jail when you overexceed the limits and the rules. Ain't nobody going to like this guy.
No. Knew it all along. Nobody likes to be told what they can't do.
Hell no. And I'm glad, like I said, they came out and said, this man's the head fed. If y'all going to hate anybody, hate this guy, he's the one that's going to slap your program with a bunch of lawsuits. All right? So there's that. So in short, let me culminize everything that just happened, okay? We got a head fed named Brian Seeley whose job is to hold college sports programs to a $20.5 million salary cap with legitimate means of NIL additives, okay? And the salary cap will inevitably increase year over year as most salary caps do, okay? Now, that being said, there's a shitload of questions, I would imagine.
A whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start lobbing them, and let's see if we can get them figured out.
All right. Let's start with the biggest one probably. Is this finally going to provide sanity to this sport?
So here's what I love most about this. Even if I don't necessarily love that the head fed is best friends with Tony Petitti, I like that at least we got somebody. Mm-hmm. At least we have a governing body attempting to do right and wrong, attempting to govern right and wrong, attempting to put some type of lanes and guardrails on the sport, and implementing some type of salary cap. At least now there are rules that you have to attempt to circumvent. Whether or not you can circumvent them, I haven't come to figure out, right? I don't know yet if this is going to be bulletproof. We'll talk about that a little bit more here in a second. But at least now we got somebody. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're not just wild west in this thing knowing that the NCAA can't do shit because Tennessee keeps teabagging them in open court.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to provide sanity per se, like immediately fix everything, but it's certainly a step in the right direction to where back in the olden days of the NCAA, it was kind of just they were basically diminished to this powerless being because they were, like you said, sued into oblivion. So it's definitely a step in the right direction. And also, I don't know if college football has ever been sane.
Yeah.
Like the ways that recruiting was done, the way throughout the entire history of the sport, the 2 centuries, has always been insane. Like there's always been some level of insanity to the sport, which kind of makes it so great. I'm just glad there is, like you said, a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I think at the very least the thought process of everybody is put under like somewhat of a level playing field, or at least the fact that you can't exceed past this X amount of dollars. The fact that there is some type of dollar sign next to everybody and it coincides with everybody, I think that's what at least provides some type of sanity of knowing, oh, okay, like every school has this threshold no matter who it is, and you can't go past this threshold.
I think my next question to that would be is who's a winner in this situation? What teams are stamped today? Okay, we have this model coming,
CEO.
they're winners.
You skipped the question.
I thought we talked about the CEO.
No. What do we think about the CEO? We talked about him. What do we think about him?
My bad.
What do you think about my man head fed Brian Seeley?
I mean, like him as an individual, what is he really going to do? Like, I feel like he's just a face that's plastered on this because it's not going to be Sealy sitting in a dungeon all day long, like siphoning through all of these NIL deals and making sure, like, calling up people saying, hey, that's a big no-no. You can't do that. All right. Like, he's really just the face of all of this, in my opinion. So what I think of him, I think it's great that we have a face of this.
All right, so I got I think Bill Simmons would call this a half-baked take. This one's been sitting in the oven for a little bit. It's rising a little bit. It's not quite ready, but I'm going to deliver it on you anyway.
Let's hear it.
I'm sure he's more than qualified, Mr. Sealy, Mr. Head Fan. I'm sure he's great at what he did with Major League Baseball. It sounds like this guy was like the head investigator for Major League Baseball, to which – I mean, not to make a joke, but the biggest investigation in the history of Major League Baseball was actually completed by the internet, and that was with the Houston Astros. So their investigative team must not have been that great. John Boy has a career because they're not that great at it. So just not to shit on Buddy. Sure, he's great at what he does. Sure, he's more than qualified. However, this is coming from Mr. SEC Homer, by the way, so buckle up. This is Tony Petitti's best friend. This dude worked with Tony Petitti in Major League Baseball. So to just summarize everything that has gone on over the last 12 months of college, let's go 24 months of college football. The Big Ten has secured the biggest TV rights contract in the sport by a considerable margin, about $15 million per year per school. They have the biggest conference in the sport. They've won the last 2 national titles, okay? And your commissioner, Greg Sankey's been standing up, taking every PR loss known to man over the last 12 months. Everybody hates him right now with when he stands up in front of a microphone. And Tony Petitti's ducking all of that. And his best friend's now the decision maker in the sport. SEC's little bro. SEC is little bro right now in this sport.
Ooh.
You got to take the most shots at the guy with the most sustainable armor.
See, I'm not like trying to hold any water for the SEC here because I don't care about it as a conference, but that isn't definitely an interesting take. Historically, recently, it sort of appears that way, but at the same time, I feel like I don't know how much of a backseat the SEC is going to take because of this.
Now when I heard this news today, I told you straight up, going to 9, Bubba. Like, you're going to 9 conference games. Whatever debate you got, whatever power you think you got, if there is hey, who's going to make the decision? Let's let the CEO make the decision. He probably going to lean in favor of the Big Ten.
Most likely.
I mean, if indeed the ties are as close as I think they are, which, again, he ain't Greg Sankey's former colleague. He's Tony Petitti's former colleague. So, just a thought.
I mean, what I think a good hypothetical would be, though, is if they do go to 9 games, would the SEC just not look at their 3 or 4 contenders annually and say, okay, we're going to give them the cakewalks this year? Georgia, Texas, Alabama, okay, you guys get Vanderbilt, you guys get Mississippi State, any other team that's been Kentucky. This is your SEC slate now.
Yeah.
In response to that, I don't know. But
it's just interesting. I'm just watching. I don't believe it, by the way. I still think the SEC is way deeper. I just got into a huge argument with a former Oregon player that's in the NFL, my man George Whitaker. We just got a knockdown drag out on his podcast about how the SEC is way deeper and way better and way more competitive top to bottom than the Big Ten. I totally, solely believe that. However, the decision-making power is tilted. It is officially tilted slightly in their favor.
Yeah.
So the half-baked take is your little bro. The reality is they got an upper hand. Even if it's a small one, they've got a small upper hand.
For sure.
So there's that. You asked a question about who wins.
Yeah, who's the winner?
Who wins in this? I personally think anybody that didn't start a culture of selling the soul and overplaying players. Or overpaying players.
Yeah.
Overplaying players. Anybody that wasn't out here wilding is going to be fine. So immediate names that pop into my head, Clemson. Clemson's a huge winner out of this.
Clemson's a poster child of this.
Clemson's a huge winner out of this. I think Georgia. I think Ohio State has not had to go crazy. I think they've been fine. I think Texas inevitably will be fine because they started winning. Had Texas not won over the last 3 years, I think they'd be in some, not trouble, but I think they'd have to start it from, not scratch, but like do it without being able to overpay for athletes, which is hard to do.
That's true. I think Texas is probably the best beneficiary of the, quote, NIL era, but that can also coincide with the fact that you hired Steve Sarkisian and things got a lot better for you once he's got his program fully rolling. So I don't know if the success is directly tied to NIL. It certainly hasn't hurt them.
I wonder if any of you guys are going to hit the macro take here. Who do you got as a big winner?
Would you classify Penn State as a winner here?
I don't know because they just took private equity money, which we're going to get into in a second. I don't know if Penn State's got enough FU money to where this is okay. To where they're $21 million hit. We can take that. I don't know if that's one of those programs.
I mean, maybe Tennessee is a winner out of this because they escaped out of paying Nico even more money, and then this would have came down the path.
The easiest answer here is the fans.
Oh,
well,
If this actually happens, if we can actually govern this sport, I think it helps the fans more than anything. I think we return to some sanity in this sport.
How's it? What ways does it help the fans though, other than just
general retention? I think this will help out for general retention of your roster as well. I don't think you're going to be able to just say, "Oh, I'm a Pitt wide receiver. My name's Jordan Addison. Oh, USC can now all of a sudden pay me triple, so I'm going to go over there." I don't think that's going to be able to happen.
So you think fatigue is going to decrease in that?
Yeah,
to where,
yeah.
We keep losing these players.
And donor fatigue. Like, that's a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the idea that there are wealthy people in the southeastern states that are constantly getting called by their favorite football team for more and more money. Now, they might continue because the responsibility for, like, for example, stadium renovations might go back on, graduates and fans now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not going to be funneling money so we can get the new Jimmy, So there's that. Who loses?
I have a take on this.
Okay.
I don't know if there's necessarily a massive loser in this because you look at like the teams that were traditionally big spending and just going way over the limits that we agree on and how they're probably not going to be able to do that anymore. But it's not like they benefited from this majorly. I mean, Tennessee is a team we talked about how obviously the Nico story is iconic at this point. It wasn't like Nico Iamaleava was a massive payoff for them. It wasn't like Tennessee won national championships and won SEC championships based on this model. Same for USC and Miami. Like, they went out and got a lot and paid a lot for these recruits. It's not like their on-field product got any better. So the idea that they're not going to be able to pay these recruits, it's not like things are going to change that drastically for them than the way they acquire talent.
There's only 2 contracts that we know of right now in the sport that I think are now, if they are real, and if you actually put them through Deloitte, and if you actually put them through the revenue sharing model, and if they are what they say they are, you are at risk or have way too much money allotted to a player who's not going to impact your team enough. 2 examples. One's obviously Mark Bowman.
Yeah.
If you're giving a tight end $8 million, you're screwed.
Absolutely.
There is no way. Okay, your salary cap is going to be all tilted towards a position that is not impactful enough. And honestly, if you're giving Bryce Underwood $10 million over the next 3 years, he better be a Heisman winner.
Mm-hmm.
He better be
Big
a Heisman
facts.
winner because the rest of your roster is not going to be good enough. However, I would imagine Bryce Underwood's money, a lot of that's coming from Oracle.
Yeah.
A lot of that's coming from Barstool. I don't know the situation with Mark Bowman.
Yeah, but and again, that's kind of my point. It's not like Mark Bowman elevates USC to a national championship contender. Like, we even talked about how this could be a contract done to USC's detriment. Like, you're overpaying so much to where it might hurt your roster elsewhere. So it's not like you could look at it inadvertently. USC's helped by this. They're a winner because they've now people forcing them to stop overpaying ridiculous prices for talent.
Well, they won't get the talent. That's the theory now because
Yes.
they're only getting it because they're overpaying. I mean, but we don't even have to look at – I mean, USC is an obvious example of this. I think for USC, you just get as much front-loaded as you possibly can, promise as much as you possibly can, and then hope that by year 2, when these rules are actually implemented, which we're going to get into in a second, that Mark Bowman can actually market himself to a $3 million annual salary that he's currently prorated at, and we can get most of that off of the salary cap and most of it into real NIL money that can go through NIL Go, and Deloitte approves. That's the plan. But that's wishing in one hand and shitting in the other one. Tell me which one fills up first. You know what I mean? So there's that situation. But we don't even have to do it with USC. There have been reports that say Texas has a $40 million roster. Mm-hmm. If that's true, they're going to have to go find $20 million of money that can go through NIL Go to hold up their roster.
Right.
Or else kids are going to be looking around saying, hey, buddy, I came here because you told me I could make X, and you're paying me W. we better find this here Delta or I'm going to get the fuck up out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was going to be my point is, doesn't this kind of give a school like Oregon almost a major advantage or potentially give them a major advantage?
I think this gives schools advantages that have legitimate marketable companies.
Yeah.
Legitimate companies. So you can't tell me that Deloitte's going to go tell Phil Knight that a tight end that he's doing commercials with ain't worth $700,000 a year. For that matter, I don't think, and leads us into our next question about does NIL go and does Deloitte actually have power? There is no way on God's green earth I think some company is going to go tell Barstool and Dave Portnoy that the quarterback's not worth $1.5 million to do 3 podcasts a year. It's his money. If he thinks the kid's worth it, the kid's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but we sell merch. You know what I mean? Like they'll justify it however they want to justify it.
Yeah.
So what I do think this removes is the idea that we've got 70 collective boosters that make $750,000 a year, and we're pulling $8,000 a month from all of them because they love the Dogs, or they love the Aggies, or they love the Longhorns, and we're just going to pool all that money together and then divvy it out to our athletes. That is removed. However, if Zaxby's wants to give JT Daniels $300,000, then go ahead. Maybe he can sell you some chicken fingers.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So that, like, to answer your question, the next question is, will Deloitte actually have power? To answer your question, I don't know.
Yeah.
And no, none of these coaches know either. I get 2 types of coaches. I get one coach that says, how are you going to tell me what somebody's worth? How are you going to tell me what I can do with my money, whether or not that's market value? Who gives a shit? I'm paying it. If I overpay, you can't tell me whatever. And then I have another coach that says, oh, you just wait. Deloitte's going to just absolutely slap the shit out of the first team that violates this so hard that everyone's going to throw up their hands and go, ain't no way I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Ain't no way I'm doing it.
I think that the one way that this is going to be enforced, and it's similar to how it was done in the NCAA, you can't tell people how much you can pay them. Obviously, you know, if X company wants to pay a player this amount, you can't stop them from doing so. I think what happens is you enforce it on the player. It goes back to the NCAA suspending players for receiving payments for signing jerseys and things like that. The guys that sold the merchandise and paid the players to do so never got punished, but it was the players that received these funds that were outside of the rules to which they could do is where the punishments come in. So I don't think that you're going to have Deloitte telling people what they can and can't pay, but you're definitely going to have Deloitte saying to the players, you can and can't accept this money.
And for the audience's knowledge alone, like what Deloitte is apparently what they apparently have is like a 20-year sample size of marketing deals signed by athletes. So if you bring in there a deal that says, hey, I'm making $170,000 from the local car dealership, and they look down and say, well, you know, A-Rod only got $110,000 back in 2018 at the local New York dealership, so no, you can't make that much.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't know how that doesn't get thrown into court. I don't know how that player doesn't look at them and say, how are you able to tell me what I'm worth?
Because I'm sure that there's going to be contracts in this to when you sign with these teams and you
play college
you
football,
are agreeing that
they have power over you. They have a governing power.
Correct.
Over you. I would hope so.
That's got to be what these new signing days are going to entail, where you basically get signed from this, and this is the amount that you are agreeing that Deloitte, whatever powers that be, can have control over what's a fair market value for you as a player or you as a representative for your name, image, and likeness. You get name, image, and likeness payments now, but there is a cap to it, so we don't have these companies just blowing up money out the ass to get you $5 million necessarily.
So there's an elephant in the room. Let's point at it. If Deloitte and NIL Go actually have power, we know where we're going back, right?
Where's that?
Backdropping.
Oh, Mr. Bagman.
Oh, they're back, baby.
Mr. Bagman's. Oh, his
Manziel.
His stock's
A lot of
roof.
football players are going to be opening laundromats.
Ain't no doubt. We gotta get some cash dropped off. Y'all better figure out how you gonna launder that money though. That's tough. 200 thou in cash ain't easy to clean.
No.
We'll be buying a lot of vehicles. You know, they don't take cash payments for houses, do they? You can't just walk in and say, hey, here's $100,000 in a duffel. Here's my down payment for this house. It has to go through a wire transfer, correct?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah,
I've never tried it.
The houses that I've purchased, wire transfers. Maybe there's some cash folks out there, but I don't believe so.
I've never tried. But yeah, no, I mean, that's going to.
We're going right back to
But again, that's fine. Like, there were complaints.
That's fine.
Like, oh, look,
Cheating.
They're always going to cheat. You're never going to stop cheating in this sport. There were complaints about how recruiting was ran 20-plus years ago, 25 years ago, and how, certain teams cheating. They bought that player so-and-so. But at least there was an understood uniformity of, okay, at least there's this rule that everyone has to follow on the baseline. And there were some other teams with, McDonald's bags or $20,000 in a duffel bag on a visit.
And back in the day, when there actually was a governing body that felt like they had some type of power, because prior to NIL, the NCAA could actually sanction people.
Yeah.
Really, pre-COVID, they could go out and slap people with trouble. Obviously, Tennessee knows this to be the case. But back in the day, they self-reported way better than they obviously can't self-report now because no one can go get them. But college football coaches tend to govern themselves. It's almost like the Autobahn.
Well, I mean, it's because I think they lived in an era of the NCAA, and like Mark Richt even made a joke about this, Todd Gurley, where basically like Mark Richt found out eventually that, the NCAA doesn't have as much power as we thought. But coaches lived in such fear. It was like, okay, if I don't report this, they're going to come for me and the entire program as a whole. So I have to sacrifice this one player and get him suspended, or I'm going to get, quote, the death penalty.
Yeah, see, I don't think Mark ran in the circles that some of the corner cutters ran in. If you know what I mean.
I agree.
Like the Mark Richt coaching tree wasn't out here McDonald's bagging.
No.
You know what I mean? There was one specific coaching tree that knew how to do the bag game really, really well to the tune of like, I think 7 titles.
Yeah.
And then everybody else around him figured that method out as well. And then NIL came around. But now that we're going back to that bag method, some of them old recruiting hounds are probably going to get back to the top. Yeah.
And I think that revolves in the big circle of college football of there was never parity. There was never going to be parity. There was always haves and have-nots, even with this. And people thought the NIL was going to be the evening of the field. And, now these lesser schools can pay players to get there. That was never going to happen.
Yeah.
There's always going to be haves and have-nots of college. So the Browns, the Jets, teams are always going to – there are some things that are never going to change in the sport of football, and teams getting richer is one of them.
My question, I think the most important question for a lot of schools is like, do you have to basically now have to pick a sport to compete in? Like the days of you being able to be national championship contenders at multiple sports, out the window.
I think
Don't schools kind of already do that though? Like they kind
Explain. Well, I guess Auburn's down in football right now, but up in basketball. But they're spending money on recruiting in football. So one's got to give. You know what I mean?
I think it does become interesting how you have these, quote, everything schools. Like Tennessee's a great example of this. Tennessee is going to have more of a strain on providing for their football team simply because their baseball team wins and their basketball team wins. Yeah. Like if you're Georgia, you can look at your basketball team and go, hey, Mike, listen, just get to the tournament every year, make a deeper run in the SEC title, and you're good. Baseball, maybe do a little better, but like teams like that, they're going to allocate more to the football team that is actually going to be producing. It's going to be very interesting to see how teams measure out what they pay for and what they don't. And I think you're right. I think you do have to kind of choose what you're going to put all your chips in on.
At least like if I give you less revenue sharing model, I have to work to get you more marketable deals that pass through NIL Go to get to the number that is required to win. That's simple math. So I do think the talent gap in football is not we're not gonna change. But I think the haves in college basketball, the Syracuses of the world, not to an extent North Carolina, because Belichick's there now, and part of his contract is that he was going to get 16 or 14 of the $20 million. So they're about to be worse at basketball than they already currently are. But like a Duke, you think Manny Diaz is getting what the other ACC schools are getting on this 20.5? Probably not.
Yeah.
But that would make Duke far better than like an Auburn, right? You would think they'd have much more to play with than an Auburn.
Yeah, I mean,
even though Auburn's been way better at basketball over the last several years than Duke.
So it plays into the conversation that we got into about how we kind of revert back to what we knew. Like you could revert back to what you knew of basketball, where Kansas, Duke, North Carolina maybe right now. They did just hire Bill Belichick, so we'll see about that one. But like your typical basketball schools that
Michigan
you envision.
State.
Yeah, like those schools. Like they were the ones that were always good at basketball. It might return to that, but the bigger point is what happens to some of these other basketball programs to where you still may not even be able to compete with these schools because they're allocated more money than you are now.
I mean, I guess we'll find out real quick if some of these guys are taking other jobs. You know?
I mean,
if Bruce Pearl's leaving Tennessee, if Rick Barnes up there at Tennessee, if he dips out, we know. We know why.
Yeah.
And I just don't know where they're going to go. You know, there's only so many of those basketball jobs.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the old adages of the rich get richer. To where, you know, we're going to see the teams that are have traditionally been basketball schools that might not as well be known for football. Like Kentucky's going to get much better at basketball, you'd have to believe.
Found you guys years ago and wasn't a fan. Now I'm here as a certified ball knower and giving back. Drew Aller's overrated and go Dogs. Kevin Waltman going onto the board. Yeah, we're very parasitic in that form. You know, like people. Sometimes you walk up on us like, ugh, I don't like those guys, and then the third or fourth time you're like, whoa. This little, it reminds me of that, like a great white shark has that animal that swims up underneath him. And I would imagine that first time that guy popped up, that great white shark was like, God, this guy's annoying. And then you realize, hold on, he's serving a purpose. This guy's cleaning up all the takes. This guy's making everything make sense.
Is that your new spirit animal?
No, still the Buffalo. Let's go add Kevin Waltman to the board.
Let's go.
But do you think you have to pick sports basically to compete in?
I mean, I would think so. I would imagine. I mean, you have to pick something that gets more than the other, right?
I feel like the answer to that is yes, but it's also not going to put that much more of a strain. It just constricts the budget in areas. Teams were having to do this anyways. They didn't have unlimited money. They weren't just printing money to spend on, okay, yeah, we can spend this on basketball, we can spend this on baseball, and we can spend whatever we want on football. Like, you had to balance a budget. Again, it's just that your bottom line is now changed to where this is the amount that you can use. So I don't think it's necessarily going to change things that much for programs, as much as we think at least.
And speaking of change, most of the people that I've talked to thinks this will go most into effect in the 2027 recruiting cycle. Okay, so most of the 2026 deals have been front-loaded, and I think they're going to get grandfathered in, if you will. I think it's the terminology that most people are using. So I think most of this will impact player acquisition strategies in 2027, not necessarily this class. So that really just points to teams like USC. I think USC is going to hold on to what they got going on. Now, how they hold on to it the second year those kids are on campus, don't ask me. Okay, that's a question for Lincoln Riley.
And you would think, though, that the agents of those players would be smart enough, though, to have those conversations, right?
Yeah, just preparing them. Like, hey, you're either going to have to work really, really hard to market yourself year two, or we're going to have to go somewhere else.
Okay, yeah. I just hope that that's what's happening.
Yeah.
I would hope, at least. Or at least the school is being honest about it, too.
You're funny. You think used car salesmen are honest about the Carfax?
I can blindly hope about it.
That's a crime. You can't do that. You can't forge Carfax.
You know, I know you've seen Tires. Of all people on this stage right now, you've seen the Netflix series Tires.
Right.
Would you put it past a used car salesman to maybe skirt the rules just a tad?
Oh, yeah, they're definitely skirting the rules. It's not Carfax. It's a crime.
Also, should be noted, there's like 17 teams, it's probably climbed even higher, that have already announced they're taking private equity money. And to put this in layman's terms, it seems to me that the almost $21 million that are going to has to come out to be competitive in athletics is now going to have to be replaced by a private equity firm loan in order to continue building and repairing facilities.
Oh, boy.
It looked to me in the reporting that I saw that people are taking money from private equity firms in order to continue their stadium renovations, continue the construction on campus, continue all of this stuff. In exchange, the private equity firms are then going to market those buildings. So you're going to start seeing logos on fields. You're going to start seeing stadium names being sold. You're going to start seeing more than just Pitbull by FIU Stadium. You're going to see a lot of this moving forward.
Yeah. You're going to have athletic directors calling up Dave Ramsey, huh? I have a $30 million loan, Dave. How do I get rid of this?
Dave, this private equity fund out of Texas is on my ass right now.
How do I save the UCLA Bruins, Dave? Tell me.
Dave, the books have been read for 150 years. How do I turn them green? That's the craziest thing to me. Look, I don't claim to be a brilliant person, but I do have a master's in business. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why a private equity firm would look around the landscape of the economic stature of this world and be like, where is our greatest opportunity for a return on investment? I got it. College sports. Those athletic departments are crushing. They constantly turn in the green, right? Wrong.
No.
Black. Years in the black. I don't understand this.
Black is profit.
In the red, excuse me. In the red. Don't understand this. For the life of me, can't get it.
I mean, they know something we don't, I'll tell you that.
The Dave Jokes classic.
I'm laughing at the Auburn going to be rocking Yellowwood color rush jerseys.
Dave, I have $20.5 million a year to play with. Really only about 16. I gave 4 of it to a freshman tight end. What do I do?
Dave, what do you think about Mark Bowman? How much would
Dave,
you
I need your
invest
help.
in this?
Well, sir, do you have any expensive vehicles? Not really, but I do have a tight end that hasn't stepped foot on the field quite yet.
Sell it.
Might be a first-round pick.
Sell it. Pay off the debt.
What's the ROI? Nothing really.
We don't know yet. He might get 800 yards. The most I've ever had at tight end is Mark Andrews.
Damn, it is, isn't it?
Oh, man.
Maybe we should call Dave Ramsey and ask him that. We need to attend Financial Peace University.
Dave Ramsey up for the next GM of
Plan
the
out
Ohio
my
State Buckeyes?
2027 recruiting class.
Maybe. It's anonymous coach speak season, boys.
Honestly, one of my favorite seasons of the year.
You think so?
I like
It is?
These takes are so mid.
I think that I think we should start up anonymous college football analyst says. And
Yeah.
we should just start giving out, like, you can't say my name, but, like, I don't know, just hellacious claims.
I like
You
that.
can't say my name, but anonymous SEC coach says Washington State had better weapons than Oklahoma. That's way better of a take than what we're about to go after. Right
Texas Tech just spent $25 million to win 4 football games.
Anonymous college football coach says SMU is a top-tier ACC program.
I would agree with that.
That's a good take.
It's a good
Man.
take. It's not a bad one.
Stuck his neck out there, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, in
It's
a
only like 5 respectable programs in the conference
That's a
from a
bold-
national perspective.
That's a bold statement to make, considering they just made a playoff.
Okay, guys. Let's put this in a holistic view. This was a group of 5 team that joined a Power 4 conference and went to the conference championship in 1 year, made the playoff, did all of that. Yeah, it's wild. If I had told you 3 years ago that SMU would become a top-tier ACC program within the first 2 seasons, you would call me crazy. I don't think that's that wild of a take, and it's also not like that was such a layup take.
Now,
Like Miami is still one of these teams.
of all of the industries, oil companies don't really have marketing faces, right?
No.
You know what I mean? So like your oil money, if your recruiting strategies are tied up in really rich oil tycoons just giving you hundreds of thousands of dollars every quarter, that's probably going to take a hit with this Deloitte stuff. However, Dallas and Fort Worth have major real estate companies. They have major tech companies. They have major real companies that can actually market these kids. So I think SMU, of all the ACC schools, apart, maybe even including Miami, I think their NIL strategies took a massive hit this week with this rule. Because I'm not going to speak for SMU like I'm some all-knower of SMU Mustangs football. But I guarantee you a lot of that money that they've been throwing at kids to increase their roster and make their roster better is probably from rich oil tycoons. Am I wrong for saying that?
No.
There's a portion of it probably. Texas Tech, same thing. Like, what's Texas Tech going to do, by the way? Their whole entire program, their whole entire athletic program is built off the fact that they had a former football player strike oil, literally, is worth $2.3 billion and has FU money. I'm going to make the Red Raiders great. You ain't going to be able to pay a softball pitcher $1.2 million moving forward? Crazy. What is Texas Tech going to do? Right? What are some of these oil-based income companies or programs going to do? That would be my only question about SMU moving forward. But I'm with this guy. They are a premier ACC program.
I would assume, or I would just make an assumption that if you are worth $2.3 billion, you have investments in businesses. I would assume, like You don't just have it just sitting around. If you're smart with it, it's like you have some type of business that is
Jonathan,
tied to your
he
name.
had the business and sold it for $2.3 billion.
yeah,
But do you
That's why
think he's
a
still
billionaire.
just like it's nowhere? Like that money is just sitting around?
Okay, yeah. I mean, then he can do what? Open a local franchise
Or that,
restaurant.
yeah.
Say, all right,
You're
he's gonna
right.
come do commercials
You're
here. Now
right.
that's what it's gonna be.
Which I assume is what would happen.
If the local steakhouse can actually fund an entire roster worth $20 million in NIL money, which
Yeah.
is what they got going on.
Yeah.
They have been in ESPN telling everybody, we just spent $12 million on the transfer portal alone. Not our roster. The 18 people we brought in, we just gave $12 million. So if that all passes through RevShare, more than half of their roster money is tied up in 18 players.
yeah.
So I don't know if that strategy is going to keep working. You're
No,
right.
yeah.
He's going to have to.
Oh, they're definitely not.
He ain't just going to be able to open up a local steakhouse.
Yeah.
He's going to have to open up real businesses to really launder this money to these players if he really cares about Texas Tech football that much.
Yeah,
It's
I
not just going to be able to be like, oh, here's my money, take it.
I mean, the process in which they do it's definitely going to change, but I don't feel like I don't think Texas Tech's hands are tied here necessarily. They just have to find new avenues to cheat, which again, teams have been doing this for centuries since the sport was invented.
Texas Tech, when they solved the Deloitte problem, quote, I want you to put the word out there, we back up. Were they ever up?
No.
They're ascending right now.
They're back up to bowl
Roster
eligibility.
value wise.
They
We have
had
a
it.
super chub we need to put on the board over there. This comes from our man Georgia Fan 224. I've been watching you for years and had the privilege of meeting you once at the local Publix. I've watched many of platforms covering college football, and I can stand on business that yours is truly the best. Ain't no doubt. We do it better than anybody else. I
Publix
think.
guy, huh?
Local Public's got to step up though.
Well, so the Kroger, a good 20-minute poke from here.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do anything convenient-wise, it's Publix. But if I'm doing main grocery shopping, which Mr. Mom here does all the grocery shopping around the house, if I'm doing grocery shopping, I'm going to Kroger.
I love how you do the Kroger. I'm going to the Kroger.
I'm going to the Kroger.
The Krogers. Do you throw in an S every now and then?
I'm going to the Kroger.
Going
The Kroger.
Yeah, I'm
the one
going to the Kroger.
to the Kroger.
I don't say the Kroger. I'm going to the Kroger.
Okay.
Quit fucking with me, man.
I'm just going to Kroger.
Yeah, Kroger is the destination.
You know what I respect most about Publix? I respect the hell out of the fact that I've never grabbed a bad cart at Publix. Never a cart with a
This is
busted
true.
wheel.
I've
Never
had
a
a
cart with a
couple of
wobbly wheel. Now, what I don't love about Publix, except for my local Publix, no cart returns. You got to walk that bitch all the way back at most Publix. Not mine. We got cart return.
I have Kroger.
Yeah, primo over at my Publix. What were we doing? What's my man's name? Georgia
check out
Fanatic
at the local
224.
one.
What was the Super Chub's name?
Georgia fan. Let me find this. I can only see the first half of it right now. Georgia fan 224.
Hell yeah. You think 224 is an area code? Let's do some deductive reasoning here. What do we think?
I'm not gonna try to
Gonna
guess
dox
what
the
this
man?
man's username is for.
Thanks for the money. Let's find out where you live. And
Send
get
us your
more.
zip code.
Anonymous coach speak season. Anonymous coach says there's a tremendous amount of pressure on Cade Klubnik to carry Clemson. Agree or disagree?
Agreed.
Yes.
That running back room is shot to hell. Now, they have a lot of receiver weapons. Like, I feel like this is the most weapons they've had since that 2019 year. But as far as it goes, like, Cade Klubnik is going to be what makes this offense churn. There's no Phil Maffa. There's no Will Shipley to hand the ball off to. They have guys. I mean, they talked about moving that wide receiver back there, and it worked in the game against Texas. But Cade Klubnik is going to be the reason this offense succeeds or fails this year.
To an extent. I mean, I do like their wide receiver weapons. I, at least for what Clemson, like, they return a lot what they had last year, and I thought for what they needed, they produced relatively well. So I think there obviously is pressure on Cade Klubnik, but I feel it's more individual than it is for, like, he has to carry the entire team.
Cade Klubnik lofted individual expectations by himself by saying, quote, I've been studying a lot of Joe Burrow tape. Now, he tried to soften the blow while also saying he was studying Bailey Zappi tape, whatever buddy's name from Western Kentucky.
Bailey Zappi also was
Bailey
kind of a
Zappi.
baller at Western Kentucky.
He kind of was, but I don't know if I would go from grinding 2019 LSU tape to turning Western Kentucky on. But hey, Bailey Zappi did ball that one time.
He was balling. I'll give him that.
But I disagree with the overall sentiment of the take because I think at the end of the year, there's an opportunity that the face of Clemson football is that defensive line. I think the combination of Tamarian Parker, Peter Woods, my man 19, who I'm forgetting the name of, mountain of a man, Capehart, okay? I think that defensive line and that box in general, Sammy Brown, Jamal Anderson, I think that core of football players will be just as important to Clemson's success this year as anybody else on the roster. No different, by the way, than their national championship winning teams. I'm not saying they're going to.
Right, but
those national championship teams were led by Christian Wilkins. They were led by the defensive line.
Yeah,
absolutely. But who was
while having Trevor Lawrence.
Who's the face of those teams?
Trevor Lawrence. But the reason that they were as great as they were, apart from the one game that Trevor Lawrence and Justin Ross put together, was because of their defensive line.
I agree with that.
I think that's what might happen to them this year.
I guess well, no, never mind. That's not equivalent. I'll hold back on that.
I still think Peter Woods got to lose about 10 pounds. I'm just going to keep saying that. Just please, man. You got like Derek Brown potential.
Derek Brown's a good player.
Derek Brown's a great player. He was a way better college player than he's a decent pro player.
Yeah,
right?
decent.
Decent. Worth $100 million. Decent at D tackle. If you're great, you're worth 140.
Let's see.
Probably. Anonymous coach says Georgia.
$96 million.
Huh?
$96 million right now.
Dang. Pretty good.
It is pretty good.
Especially for a non-NFL ball knower. That's pretty on the head. Anonymous college football coach says Georgia Tech has future head coaches on staff.
This is one of the more
coaches.
This is one of the more softball takes. Like, we've been talking about how Buster Faulkner is going to get a head coaching job.
We ain't been talking about Blake Gideon.
We haven't, but
Yeah.
This one kind of caught me off guard. Blake Gideon wasn't on my radar. But then again, they rarely are until they are. You know what I mean? They're already on their way to be a head coach. But Blake Gideon's a guy who's the defensive coordinator at Georgia Tech, just hired in 2025, I saw. This is a guy who's like a safeties coach for Texas after being a GA. He started his GA track in 2014. So in 9 years, he went from a GA to a DC. He's 36 years old.
So these are both just fast climbers that they have on their staff. And it's like these guys are obviously on the track to become head coaches. We knew about Buster Faulkner,
I think,
because that's been the successful side of the football. The Gideon one is more of a projection, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the Fran Brown route where, like, everyone kind of knew Fran Brown when he was at Georgia had that sauce to him. And then when he went to Syracuse and succeeded, people at Georgia were like, we're not surprised.
So maybe Gideon has to go to one more stop as a DC?
Maybe, or in like I think Faulkner is going to go from an OC job to a Power 4 job.
Yeah.
I think Gideon might go from a DC job to a mid-major head coaching job.
That would make sense.
Right? Because, I mean, Faulkner's 43 years old. Gideon's 37, 36, 37.
Those are babies.
So both babies in the coaching area, but like Gideon's got a mid-major track right now. I just don't know. I don't know, and this is an overall sentiment, overall topic. I don't know what jobs are going to be available. Like, I keep seeing, obviously, PJ Fleck's agents leaking that he wants to leave Minnesota. And obviously, Eli Drinkowitz was name was linked to, I want to get out of Mizzou if I win 10 games. But I don't know where y'all going to go. I don't know where y'all going to go. Now, if y'all leave, I know where Buster's going to go. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If y'all leave, I know where some of these other guys are going to go. But, like, I don't know where Buster takes a job tomorrow. I even get into this. Like, if you were a Florida fan, let's say Billy Napier just burns and just it goes to hell. They fire him. Would that football program rather hire PJ Fleck or Buster Faulkner?
Buster Faulkner.
Buster Faulkner.
Really?
I would think so.
But, I mean, like, predicting the NFL and college football coaching market at this time of year is so hard.
Yeah, I don't think any of us would have said no SEC coach is going to get fired
exactly.
last year.
Exactly.
Do you think that changes, though, now?
Well, yeah, the leashes are shorter on a lot of them.
Well, leashes are shorter.
We've
because
grabbed
time has
one
passed.
link down.
Yeah, because time has passed. But I'm saying because, like, we kind of hypothesized that maybe teams were waiting for House versus NCAA to settle. And then now that, which I know there's still not exact clarity on what is about to happen, but maybe this is like, okay, now we have something set in place.
Yeah, no, there's going to be a lot of firings this year. I would be shocked if the SEC doesn't fire 3 or more head coaches.
3 or more, okay.
Anonymous college football coach says Northwestern's comparison is Vanderbilt, except Vanderbilt actually spends and is serious about NIL.
So they're not Vanderbilt.
They're not Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Northwestern is now worse than Vanderbilt per a Big Ten coach.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask is, are we talking about 2024 Vanderbilt or are we talking about baseline Vanderbilt?
I think that coach is talking about the idea that Northwestern ain't out here interested in giving nobody money. So you might as well just get on.
I think this is helping me stumble into a new take. Is Mississippi
Half-baked take?
State the new Vanderbilt of the SEC?
Ooh. Yeah.
Like,
And here's why. Like, even if like the rev share is there, but like you're far more marketable of an athlete in Nashville, Tennessee than you are in
Correct.
Starkville, Mississippi.
Correct.
Period.
I
No
mean-
offense to Starkville. Actually, full offense to Starkville. Never going back.
We're supposed to
we're
go
going
back.
back this year.
Damn.
We could just go skip out.
I'll
We're not going to that one.
Send y'all.
Oh, all right.
I'd be fine with that. But
Just
no,
kidding, I'll
Let the
go.
hooligans
I'll
loose.
go, I guess.
But no, like
SID department real nice to us. We'll go.
I'm
I
just
guess, but like what?
I was gonna say, like Mississippi, the Dan Mullen era did Mississippi State a ton of favors, and they were consistently a top 25 team. But since then, they've been bottom feeders, and now you see this kind of rise from Vanderbilt to where you see them on the schedule, and it's not like, oh shit, we have to play them, but it's also not automatic W. Like people treat Mississippi State like that, and they have for the last 3 years.
I would say
Going
that
on 4.
Mississippi State hasn't been that bad long enough for me to agree with this because, like, when they had Will Rogers, they weren't just a dumpster fire. I mean, they were, and this is too, like, when it was divisions, and it's like you're competing against Alabama every single year.
Wasn't that our introduction to Brian Kelly? Here's 700 yards passing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like,
KJ Costello.
Yeah, here's
baby.
700 yards passing from Costello in Mississippi State.
man,
L as the 14th ranked team in the country. L. I
KJ
think.
Costello.
Oof.
But I think that Jeff Lebby can keep them progressing. So I don't think that they're just like dead in the water right now.
Maybe they only lose to Toledo by 1 score.
yeah, maybe they close the gap on Toledo a little bit.
Now, this was your
Future college football playoff team, by the way.
This was Jonathan's favorite anonymous coach's take. Washington could be the most improved team in college football.
That one is like, okay, now we're getting
Now we're getting
somewhere.
to a take.
Now we're actually sitting down. We're being studious about our takes, and we're like, this is the one I cooked up. I can get on board with this one. I don't have any grounds to say why you're
Jed
correct in
Fish?
this. Yeah, got a good head coach. Don't have Will Rogers as your quarterback anymore, which I think wasn't exactly a great plan for you. But, I mean, I think that this is like, okay, I could eventually see this happening.
Just hope they don't go belly up.
That'd be bad.
It's a fish joke.
I know. That's the second like colossal dad joke you've made tonight. Are you feeling all right, dude?
Yeah. It was a long weekend.
There's one more on there, I think.
Yeah, the Rutgers one? Yeah, this is a no shit take. Rutgers is a case of the have-nots.
Rutgers
Yeah,
isn't
buddy,
good at
sky's
football.
blue.
Like, yeah.
Boobs are cool. Like, what are we doing?
I
you know
wanna
what I
know-
mean? Like, Jesus, bro.
What was the format? They were like were they going down the list, or was the interview just like, hey, tell me something that you'd be fine with going out? It's going to be anonymous, obviously, about your fellow Big Ten team.
Hey, I got one. Rutgers sucks.
Rutgers
It's like-
This is how I imagine this interview going. You'd be the coach in this scenario. All right, describe these teams in 5 words or less. SMU, top tier ACC program. Cade Klubnik has to carry Clemson. Georgia Tech, future head coaches on that staff. Like, that's how I imagine this going. Like, and we got a timer. We got 10 seconds to think, and that's it. That's what this reads like.
Most definitely.
My boy JS Web Music constantly giving us memberships. I appreciate that, man. That's like 7 or 8 shows out of the last 12. I feel like JS Web's popped in with free gifts. Thank you for the gifted, JS Web.
Hell yeah, JS. Thank you.
I'm good on these. We good?
We've got 4 minutes. You want to talk about the Oregon news?
Yeah, let's talk about Evan Stewart. Likely out for the year, depending on the severity of the injury. Now, I don't like Patellar's either 6 weeks or 9 months.
Yeah, I saw the
Something like
range was
this.
like 2 to 12 months.
Yeah, it's literally it's a wide range just based off of how bad he tore it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would imagine they have a clear thought process on what this is. It was obviously a massive year for him. He had a big year in terms of need you to be great. This year they were going to depend on him a lot. I looked at the depth chart today, guys. This is rather concerning for Oregon. Even with Evan Stewart, this would have been a questionable group. Kyle Casper, Dakarian Moore is going to have to start for them as a true freshman. If he doesn't, Malik Benson. Y'all remember Malik Benson? Didn't work out at Alabama, didn't work out at Florida State, attempting to make it work at Oregon. And then their slot receiver is a guy by the name of Gary Bryant. Now, I don't know a ton about West Coast football, but those names aren't names that I know, and I study college football a whole hell of a lot more than the average person.
Right. Yeah, it kind of makes you think back to the Dallas Wilson commitment or recruitment where Oregon had him almost basically down to the wire, and Florida came in and scooped him up, and now it looks like Dallas Wilson is going to be a contributing factor on a Florida roster that already has some big names at wide receiver. So not to do that thing where it sucks that you don't have them, but it did just kind of make my mind turn to that where, man, if they had Dallas Wilson, maybe it certainly helps alleviate this.
I mean, guys, I stumbled on a take, it seems like multiple times today, but I was looking at this R-Lads today, and I know what the schedule is. I understand the schedule and Dan Lanning and the roster. I know they should win 11 games. There's no doubt about that. But when I look at that roster is not championship caliber right now. Not on paper. Now, I know we don't play these games on paper, but that roster is like an 8 or 9 range best roster in college football. There are far more rosters with far fewer holes than what Oregon's got going on right now, even if Evan Stewart were on the roster, is what I'm saying. Even if you were 100% healthy.
I mean,
they got a lot of questions.
You definitely don't feel fantastic about Oregon heading into the preseason, but like we just said, it's an 8 or 9 roster. That's a playoff team. The schedule is manageable, should be a playoff team in there. So there's plenty of time you would have to imagine for Dan Lanning to figure things out. And we just saw a head coach take a roster that we all collectively agreed at this time last year was not a top 10 roster in Notre Dame. So it's possible.
Do you feel better about Oregon's situation right now or LSU going into this year? On paper. In a vacuum.
I think
Which team's got fewer holes?
Here's what I'm going to do, and this might be a wishy-washy answer. Oregon has a better chance of making the playoff.
Yeah.
I think LSU has a better chance of making the national championship.
And that's what I'm asking, essentially.
I would agree with that.
If both teams were thrown into a playoff scenario tomorrow, who's got the goods to win it?
LSU. Right now.
All right, let's continue. South Carolina or Oregon? Push.
All
right, let's continue. Penn State or Oregon?
Penn State.
Penn State right now.
Michigan or Oregon?
Oregon.
Okay, so there's the line in the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
BYU or Oregon?
I'm going to go Oregon.
All right. So we put them about that 8 or 9 range?
No, I mean, I counted on my hands of teams that I would put ahead of them, and it got to about 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just not as good on paper as even they were last year.
No. But again,
the rest of the sport isn't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like it's alarming to watch out for, but at the same time, they should be a playoff team. They should be competitive at the Big 12. They've got a top 10 roster. And we saw last year, just get to the dance and whatever can happen.
We can delay year 3 coaches. We can't delay the Pac-12 news. The Pac-12 is apparently coming back.
It's back.
It's the Midwest. It's the MAC with Oregon State and Washington State.
Oh, we get Saturday night MACtion?
Yeah, it's the MAC with Oregon State, Washington State.
Dirty
you don't seem
so
excited.
Do you
about
have I got news on this, or at least information on this. Do you have the actual list of teams? It's like Utah State. It's the Midwest. Or it's the MAC. It's the MAC naming themselves the Pac-12. More commonly known as the WAC-12.
Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, San Diego State, Utah State, Oregon State, and Washington State. And Gonzaga will be on the basketball
Yeah,
side.
so Bubba, that's not a Power 4 football conference. That's not returning us to the Power 5.
Oh, no,
no.
That's the Mid-Atlantic Conference calling themselves the Pac-12.
Ooh.
However, if Cal and Stanford come back in this bitch, we might be cooking with Crisco.
Ooh, so this is interesting. Are they going to fall even though like the teams that are in that, we wouldn't classify that as a Power 5 conference. No. Are they going to fall under that umbrella though? Like, is it going to become now?
No. Under this, that's still the Power 4.
So in other words, what I see from that is those are the teams you're going to be picking for the playoff field every time.
Basically.
Mm-hmm. Like basically saying
whoever wins the PMAC, as we're going to call it.
Washington State, you're now a front runner for a playoff spot perennially.
The PMAC 12.
Yeah.
PMAC 12.
The PMAC 12.
The PMAC 12 -4.
The Pac-12, I think, is a Pac-6 right now, a Pac-7, looking for a Pac-8 football team. I think they're going to turn to a Pac-9 with the addition eventually of Cal and Stanford.
Good.
That's what my sources are telling me.
Good.
Wink, wink.
I like
Watch out for the Pac.
I am totally fine with that. And again, like Pac-12 After Dark was
Pac-12
special.
After Dark.
Pac-12 After Dark was special. Not if Stanford and Cal join. It still goes back to being more of the Pac-12.
No.
These
it's
late
the Pac.
These late night.
It would be
rides after
4
football games.
original Pac-12 schools with 6 MAC teams. It would be the Pac. I'm sorry, no Pac-12 can have Boise State in it. It just doesn't look right. It's the Pac.
All I'm going to say is growing up in college and going through those 4 years and getting to 1 a.m. and being like, oh, shit.
We still got balls.
There's another game starting, guys.
That still
Very
happens,
fun feeling.
dude. Road trips now, man.
Hell yeah.
You get a whole 3-hour football game on that last final stretch. That's
Very
what I'm
nice.
talking about.
Very
Some
nice.
action.
You know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about them dogs. I'm going to talk about them dogs for a whole hour coming up right now.
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back into the Film Guy Network for another loaded hour of tremendous content. We're going to talk that dog, how the House versus NCAA settlement affects Georgia. How will this affect other sports at Georgia? Official visitors weekend recap, or we can call that a weekap. Zachary Lewis, an offensive guard out of North Gwinnett, committed to Georgia today. We'll tell you about him. Some other recruiting news as well. And we have a very spirited NFL topic debate tonight.
Ooh.
That'll be fun. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, and rate, review, and all that good stuff. But first, let's talk about the biggest news of the day. House versus NCAA. Boys, how does this impact Georgia?
I honestly was trying to think about it. I don't think it has that much of a direct impact on
Kirby.
Georgia. Now, as far as the way they've handled business, I feel like Georgia has kind of always had the foresight to understand.
You're right. It's not going to impact the processes. You're correct there. It might impact the results.
Right.
Kirby, I don't think there's any denying that Georgia's recruiting has taken a slight dip since the Wild Wild West has been enacted in college football.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, they're going to finish with the lowest ranked recruiting class this year, in my opinion, than they have since 2016. Like, it's going to be right now, what is it, like 7th?
It's like 5th, I think.
It's probably going to end somewhere around 5th to 7th range if things project where they're at right now. So
Yeah, but I guess as we've said though, like that 7-1 range though is pretty equal when you look at the classes.
I've always said 1 to 3 is pretty equal. That 4 to 7 range pretty equal. That 7 to 10 range pretty equal.
Yeah, but like looking at the classes right now, or at least kind of projecting how they would finish, you're gonna have those top group of teams is gonna be like you might have 2 or 3 5-stars, and then the rest are 4-star. Like it's not like, again, like we said, it's not like the number one team where it's usually, man, they got 6 5-stars this class.
Yeah,
they just completely
I
wrapped
still
it
don't
up.
think it'll ever return. It might not ever return to the days where Georgia signs 5 5-stars in one class like they did in 2018.
Yeah.
I just don't think that will ever return. But again, there is no doubt that Tennessee has taken players from you, that Texas has overpaid for players from you, that Ohio State has done this to you, that USC has done this to you. There's no doubt that over the last several years, Georgia has lost football players because people have gone out of their means to overpay them to go.
Yeah.
Georgia's class ranked 6th right now, and they have the least commits out of anyone in the top 10.
Okay.
So they'll be fine.
Where's Ohio State?
Ohio State is 4th.
I think Ohio State will only get better. It's USC, Miami, and Notre Dame that have a shitload of recruits right now, right?
USC is in the lead by far with 28 commits. Notre Dame has 16.
Okay.
Clemson's 3rd with 18. Ohio State has 14. Penn State has 19. And Georgia has 13.
Okay.
So Georgia's going to gain some ground here.
When I went through the projections the other day of the top 32 players in the class, a lot of them are going to Ohio State.
Yeah.
So that's why I think they're going to ultimately take a bump up. Maybe Georgia will as well. There's still some blue chippers that they're in the mix for. There's no doubt about that. But, you've had players, like I said, be bought off of your roster through means that we don't believe will be able to happen in the future. So I think that protects you from a certain standpoint. But you've also got a tremendous amount of weight in the future decision-making model that currently exists. I'm going to read you a quote that I gave to our Patreon audience today, patreon.com/Brooks Austin. This comes from a source at Georgia. Quote, our AD sits on the NCAA Rules Committee. Our head coach chairs the head coach's Rules Committee. Our president is one of the 3 presidents that forms the NCAA Small Council for Advising, and we are in the SEC. The only conference commissioners that have any say are the SEC and the Big Ten. Guys, you're really well positioned for what's going to happen moving forward. Not to mention, I think you have one of the more important hires in modern college football in the form of Stephen Drummond. The idea that we have, or you have hired a guy that has NFL experience to balance budgets is really, really important.
Yeah, and I remember us talking about that when the hire was made of it feels like this isn't a coincidence that you're getting a guy with NFL experience in what we believe a time of college football where there is going to be a cap and you're having to balance that. So that would back up that quote was given to you of we've had inside news about this for a little while now.
And they're not going to have to change anything about the way that they're operating.
No.
There are some teams that are going to have to kind of flip their model or adjust their model or shift money or move money around to make things work. This isn't a football team that's going to have to do that. They have been listening to their lawyers on this topic for about 2 years, from what I understand. I do think there's another take here that I don't know if anybody else has stumbled upon, but I stumbled upon it today writing our notes. I think there is a legitimate chance that if this stuff actually enacts some type of sanity in the sport, if these rules actually do get enforced, if the job of a head football coach nowadays isn't just about, can I retain my roster 365 every day? I'm constantly worried about someone getting poached. I think the lifespan of Kirby Smart just got increased pretty drastically.
For sure.
I think there were a lot of football coaches like Kirby that have gotten through 10 years and won 2 national titles and gotten to the top of the sport that turned around, looked around and said, wait a minute. This isn't what I signed up for. How much have we heard that? This isn't the sport I signed up to coach. This isn't the thing that I signed up to do. Well, now it's going to maybe, potentially, hopefully, ideally, return back to what it was. I think your lifespan as a head football coach just got increased dramatically.
Yeah, not just Kirby Smart. It's everyone.
It's everyone.
How many head coaches have we seen take lateral moves to the NFL because they were just like, I can't do the work anymore. It's too much. So, yeah, I absolutely think that this is going to provide some sanity in the fact that coaches' lifespans are going to expand. And we don't know how long Kirby Smart's going to coach for. We'd have to imagine that he's probably at least halfway through his tenure at the University of Georgia. But the reality is that things just got a lot less stressful for him, hopefully.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hopefully. But I don't know. It's still entering year 10. So natural coaching cycle would indicate.
Yeah, I mean, even if it were the old school method of college. If this were the 90s, coaches only stick around for 15 to 18 years.
Yeah.
At their highest rates, their longest tenures. The difference is, like, a lot of those other coaches retire or go on to other things. This dude ain't retiring, and I don't think this dude's going to the NFL. Not of what I know about him, especially now. I think, like, there was a time there where an NFL job is almost more appealing than a college job, where I have to draft new players every year and my roster is harder to win at the highest rates, but at least I ain't having to deal with all this bullshit. Well, now you don't have to necessarily deal with all the bullshit. So I don't think there's anywhere for him to go. I definitely don't see him retiring.
You can almost say they're equal now, considering like workload wise. Outside of like you got to put a little more mileage on yourself to do recruiting, but
pay structure. He makes 12. What's the highest NFL coach making right now? AI? What's the highest NFL coach making? Like $14 million?
Andy Reid making $20 million annually.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
Maybe a third natty.
Okay, maybe a third natty gets you to 20. Shit, good for Hawaiian shirt wearing man.
Next is Sean Payton with $18 million, and then Mike Tomlin with $16. So
he's like the 7th highest paid football coach in the world.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Not bad.
No.
Not a bad gig. I do think it extended his life for him.
Absolutely.
A lifespan, rather. All right, let's recap this OV weekend. Got a commitment, Zachary Lewis. We're going to go up and watch this tape, guys. 6'5", 288 pounds, plays with his hair on fire. We're going to watch this tape, and what I want you to pay attention to, the most important thing about this football player is his foot fire. How quickly his feet get up and out of the ground and back into it and moving force, okay? Now, a couple things about this guy we're going to point out on tape. This is an interior offensive line projection. I think he's playing tackle in high school. Way too much of a leaner. Some things we're going to have to clean up, but I love this tape. I think, Jonathan, what we should do, and I didn't prepare you for this, I think we should watch this tape and then immediately back it up with Iking Akbogo's tape and show people that sometimes rankings don't necessarily matter, okay? Because the tape we're about to watch here with Zachary Lewis is phenomenal. The tape we're going to watch from Iking Akboko is not necessarily great. However, Akboko's ceiling, tremendously higher than what we're about to watch. But you have to take both. We've been talking about this on this network. As every player that you take nowadays that is a high ceiling projection, you need to balance him with a high floor projection, which is exactly what Zachary Lewis is. Let's shut up and let's grind the tape. We got folks grinding the tape from Utah today. Shout out to the Mormon State. Shout out. We got it pulled up, Jonathan?
Yeah, I got it pulled up.
We're just watching ads right quick.
Yeah.
That's all good.
No free ads.
Hey, how about this? A Bobby Bowden signed football. I went to an FCA. I'm just filling time right here. Went to a football Christian, what does FCA stand for? Football.
Fellowship Christian Academy.
Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Yeah.
Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Went to an FCA event. Bobby Bowden was doing some speaking. That man could do some talking. Okay.
I didn't know you had that. That's actually sick.
Yeah.
Mark
Bobby
got
Bowden.
some powerful stories from him.
Also got I think this is Mike Allstott.
That's badass.
Everybody loves some Mike Allstott. Also have some Warren Sapp right here that
Also
y'all never
badass.
really see. So yeah, we got some autographs up in here. All right, let's watch this tape. Now, this is my man Zachary Lewis, and again, watch the foot fire on this joker. Watch how quickly these feet get up and then out of the ground. Okay, and of course you're gonna see, like I said, playing with his hair on fire. This dude blocks to the echo of the whistle and beyond.
He showed the replay. That's crazy.
This zoomed in replay. That's a little crazy. This is Mill Creek. Playing a 50 front against them jokers. That's actually a 60 front. They got 6 dudes up on the line of scrimmage. Okay? Again, you're going to notice this guy plays with his nose over his toes, something we're going to have to clean up when we get to college. But I love how quickly our feet get up out of the ground. You see what I'm talking about with the lean, Kirby? We play a little bit too much like this. All right, we don't need to always be like this. We need to bring our belly button, as we say on the board over there. We got to bring our belly button through contact. I do love, however, that we finish like a madman. All right, there is no doubt. This is against Buford. This dude grinds, okay? He is a dude that plays really, really hard. And that's kind of what we talked about with the miss of Cantwell, right? If you're going to miss on the blue chip guy, go take the money that you're going to spend on that guy, buy 5 players who just are dying to play college football and have some of the physical attributes that you need.
Is that Cedar Grove?
That's Mill Creek, it looked like to me. Now, there's a clip a little bit later that we're going to show you that I think there's a lot of room to clean up some of this stuff as well. See what I'm talking about with the leaning in our pass protection as well?
There.
Yeah, we're an interior offensive line projection. We need to play in tighter confined spaces, but we're a grinder, man. We play really, really, really tough. This is him against Norcross right here, I believe. Why is Carter Lucky not on the field? He must have been hurt. All right, this was the clip we showed Discord today. I want to pause this and show you where we can clean some things up. All right, we're going to climb to the second level on this defender, all right, and I want to show you something. All right, see how wide our hands are right here? Now, I know we're clearing the trash, but watch on contact. Look where our hands are. All right, we have got to put our elbows together. We got to aim small, miss small. Shout out to the Patriot, okay? We got to aim small, miss small right here. Get our hands tied together. That way we're not grabbing this guy on the shoulder pads and trying to finish that way, but we love the effort at the end of that play.
Is that the Patriot or American Sniper?
I believe it's American.
That's the Patriot, too. When Mel Gibson is explaining to his young boy when he gives him a rifle and he's trying to tell him to take out the redcoats, hey, aim small, miss small. Yeah, that's the Patriot.
I don't remember that from that movie.
I only know that for a fact because my coach, Robbie Ross, used to talk about it ad nauseum as an offensive line coach.
Both good movies.
Yep. I love the foot fire, though. That's what we're here to watch and the effort. What's up?
I wish we could see some pulling tackle plays here because I feel like that's going to be where you
This
really
is him on defense.
Oh.
I'm with you though. I want to see a pull and kick, but I don't think we're going to get
Yeah,
much of that.
Different position, but
That's him against Brookwood, I believe.
he's got some nastiness to him, that's for sure.
Yeah. Now, I saw an edit today of him saying that he was a center. So perhaps Georgia might have recruited him for that.
Is this like an Xavier Truss guy then, or is this
Like a play 5? No.
Yeah, like-
this. I don't think he will play tackle in college. That's off the books. I think we're a center guy and then project to maybe play both guards if we have to be a swing
so
player.
an interior swing? As
Yeah, an
opposed to
interior
just
swing.
Just to do
Yeah.
everything then? Okay.
Which, by the way, you're either a tackle who can swing and play all 5 at Georgia, or you're an interior who can swing and play both. There are not very many guys. Like Juan Gaston, for example. That's a 5-star tackle in my opinion, and he's probably going to get on the field at guard to start his career and then kick out back to tackle.
It's a bunch of swingers, huh?
I mean, I felt forced.
That was a layup,
I
dude.
felt forced.
That was better than the damn.
I don't know if that's
I
better
don't know,
than
pretty
the dad
comparable to
jokes.
the dad jokes that have been said so far.
That was.
I think it's rubbing off on you, all right?
Yeah, that was.
Cut that out.
No, did he?
It's a little bit much. OV weekend. There's a lot of guys on campus this weekend. Let me go through the list. Give me 1 second. Guys, do you think they have a chance with Savion Hyder?
I mean, they have a chance with anyone, but it's not a great chance.
Yeah, according to sources, we should just prep all 18 commitment articles for the kids who are on campus this weekend. That's the type of intel I'm getting nowadays from some folks at Georgia. They're so damn tight-lipped.
You love the confidence, but
Yeah, I do love the confidence.
if you told me that they're going to land 31 players in their class this year, I don't think I believe that, guys. I'm sorry.
All right. Savion Hyder, Tyron Wortham, Brady Marchese, who apparently has a new tattoo.
He tatted up now.
Apparently has a new
NIL
tattoo.
check hit.
Hell yeah. Braden Fogel, Ike Nagboko, Fletcher Turk, Graham Houston, who's a commit, Zachary Lewis, who's a commit, Seven Cloud again. Multiple weekends in a row on campus. Kendall Gervil, Vodney Cleveland, 2 defensive tackles. P.J. Dean, a defensive end. Andre Quinn, Tamarian Watkins, Keelan Jones, a commit. Chase Calicut.
That's the safety, right?
Yeah. Caden Harris, Chauncey Kinnan, and Jared Curtis, all on campus this past weekend. Let's give you the rundown. Savion Hyder was the most important visitor. I was told still expensive.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think this stuff's going to take real effect until 27. In fact, I think we might see the inverse. I think you might see some folks try to go crazy to get things front-loaded as much as they can to secure commitments. I think they did a good job. They felt like they did as good of a job as they possibly could. Still just way too early to tell from what I was told.
And I think from what we understand about the running back position, there's different schools that value it much differently. Like we've heard some instances where running backs are getting upwards of, multiple millions. I don't think Georgia ever prioritizes that in the budget. So it's likely that you're going to get someone else bidding higher than you would for Savion Hyder.
Yeah, I mean, for especially this running back class with how many top names, it feels like there are at least good running backs in this class. Feels like that this isn't like a must-have, but he's certainly a really talented football player that you would love to have. But again, like whenever you got like all the top dogs that are sniffing around this one, that are getting into the final mix of this one, it feels like it's just like a cover your eyes and throw a dart against the wall.
And also, Brooke, correct me if I'm wrong, the last must-have we got to get this guy running back that I felt like Georgia had was Justice Haynes. As far
Nate
as
Frazier, I feel, right?
I wouldn't classify maybe Nate,
At least it seemed like they
Maybe
felt
Nate.
that way.
but yeah, I would go Justice over Nate.
and
in
even
terms of,
then,
that's the last guy they had to have that they missed for sure.
right, and that's what I'm saying.
For sure.
It seems like the running back position is one of those where it's like, it doesn't seem to me like they are willing to go all out in order to land these guys.
Yeah.
Just because the value of the position is what it is, unfortunately.
And I know we've talked about this, but it makes sense, right? Like the NFL does not value running backs because of their lifespan. The older they get, the more susceptible they are to injuries. So it would make sense that if you were an agent representing a young running back, we would try to maximize his earning potential as early as possible.
Correct.
So that means you're going to overpay for him as a freshman in college
Correct.
because you're not going to overpay for him when he's 30 years old as an NFL player.
Nope.
So they're trying to get this money prorated at a higher rate earlier on as possible as they can.
It makes sense, and that's why you've also seen Georgia kind of transition to the running back by committee thing.
Yeah, and I also think the college game is far more. If you have a great running back in college, you're closer to wins than you are if you just have a great running back in the NFL. Agree or disagree?
So like you're saying,
If
like
I have an elite running back, I have a far better chance to win in college football than I do if I just have an elite running back in the NFL.
100%.
oh yeah,
Boise
absolutely.
State can exist in college football. It cannot exist in pro ball.
Yeah, the New York Giants tried it.
Michigan State with Kenneth Walker can work in college football. They cannot work in pro ball,
Damn, that was a throwback. I forgot about that team.
right?
That was almost a playoff team.
Yeah.
What the hell?
They don't fudge up against Miami. They are a playoff team.
Hmm.
I think it was Miami, wasn't it?
I thought it was Michigan.
They flubbed up a game.
They
were a
lost.
favorite and should
Yeah.
have been 10-2. Should have been in a Big Ten championship, but weren't. So yeah, but that can happen in college ball. It can't happen in pro ball.
No, I agree with you.
The percentage of salary cap should be relative to that statement when it comes to college payments for running backs.
Understandable.
Yeah, I don't have much else on this weekend of official visitors. I think they felt good about Ike Nagboko, which we didn't watch his tape.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go back and watch his tape. Now, I don't mean to do this to Ike, okay? He is a really, really high-ceilinged athlete. He's 6'6". He's 320 pounds. He has things and has the ability to potentially do things that my man Zach Lewis may never be able to do, okay? I had an offensive line coach back in the day that would, when faced against a physical specimen that was just better than me, would say all the time, God got him. He beat you at birth, is what he would say all the time. Ikeni Agboko's ceiling beat Zach Lewis at birth, just period, point blank. So when you see Ikeni ranked inside the top 100, it makes sense because he's a projectable athlete. However, y'all just got done watching Zach Lewis's tape. Let's go watch Ikeni's tape, and you tell me right now, tomorrow, who is a better football player. I think it's Zach Lewis. Who will be a better football player in 3 years? Probably Ikeni Agboko. But you have to take both, which is the point of this segment. Let's go to the board. All right, so I want you to actually spin this back, Jonathan, because I think the profile picture that Ikeni puts up here, it epitomizes what I'm talking about right here, okay? Look at this, all right? This is not an ideal offensive line stance. Okay, our feet are outside of our hip box. All right, our knees are pointed inward. We're leaning over our toes. Our hands are out. Okay, there's nothing about this photo that is technically sound. All right, but he's a freak. He's 6'6", 300 pounds, he's got 35-inch arms. All right, so you're recruiting certain things. Also, those are definitely Georgia gloves that he has on in that photo. All right, so let's continue with the tape. All right, and you're going to see some of this stuff pop up in the tape, like this right here. What are we doing right now, Kirby?
Standing straight
We are
up.
standing straight up. We're standing straight up, all right? We're going to get hit in our chest in college football. That's a no rep. We can't do this, right? But watch how the rep ends, okay? The rep's going to end with raw power that, again, the Lord gave this guy.
Good God.
The Lord gave this guy raw power. Even the stance right here, okay? The stance right here. We are frog squatting in this one. All right, our butt is below our knees. Reason being, we feel like we got to get up out of our stance and we can't quite do it. Okay? Sorry, I know you got to zoom in on this. See our frog stance right here, Curb?
Oh,
See us sitting on our heels? I can tell us right now, one of two things are happening. We're pulling or we're fighting really, really hard to cut this three technique off in front of us. All right? So, in other words, we're having to gain ground on this rep. All right? There he takes that three technique and Michael oars him damn near close to it. Okay? Another rep of them right here. We're pulling, all right? We kind of get a chicken wing on Buddy. But we didn't finish that rep, did we, Kirby?
No, we did not.
We're not going to finish many of these reps today. All right, we were going to finish with the lay down in the red zone right here. I like that, okay? But just look at the physical profile of this individual. Hey, we're leaner, aren't we? We're leaner, just like we showed you with our man Zach just a second ago. We're leaning, okay?
So you're more privy to this just because you played the position your entire life.
Yeah.
How easy is that to coach out of? Is that something where it's just a fundamental thing, or is that like just natural athletic abilities are limiting you to do that?
It's both, okay? And you have to find where it is. Like, is this kid flexible enough to actually bend at the ankles? Is he flexible enough to bend at the knees and the hips, right? Or is he a waist bender the rest of his life? Okay, buddy that we watched the other day, the 5-star that ended up going to Oklahoma, that kid's going to be a waste spender the rest of his life. He just doesn't have the flexibility to actually be a good mover of an athlete. This kid does, I think, okay? So this kid's got that projectability where we can coach him out. You're right in the sense that the very first thing we do when we get to college is clean your footwork up. We clean all your technique up. We clean your stance up. We do all of that, right? And we also spend about 7 months before you even put real pads on, not spring pads, I'm talking about fall camp pads, before you put real pads on, moving your body the right way in the weight room. And you know this, how important it is that we're squatting the right way, that we're power cleaning the right way, that we're moving our body the right way and stretching the right things to make us flexible in the right areas. Mm-hmm. Those things can get cleaned up and you'll ultimately be a better mover for it, and you'll be technically a little bit more sound because of it. But this isn't like a Daniel Calhoun. You know, Daniel Calhoun came to college clean as a whistle. All we got to do is make him meaner and make his body a little bit better. You know what I mean? Bo Hewley had some technical stuff to clean up. They got it cleaned up. Still does. Still leans a little bit. We saw that in the spring game. A couple clips of him falling on his face, even in mop-up duty last year as well. Okay, so some of that stuff can get cleaned up, Curb. I like that. That was a good first step right there. Rep. That was his best rep. I would have liked to seen you finish. See how we're rocking, but zoom us in on this a little bit, Curb. You can see how we're kind of rocking our body weight in our stance to get up off of the ball. Watch this right here. This tells me we've got some body weight lingering that we're not quite comfortable moving at an explosive rate just yet. I really wish we could slow this down. Watch his butt sink before he moves. Did we see that?
Yep.
Okay, that is, some people call that a false step, all right, but he didn't move, okay? It's wasted movement created with an inefficiency in our body. All right, those things we can get cleaned up, all right? So there's Ikini Agboko, a much higher ceiling than the prospect we just watched in Zach Lewis, but tomorrow, Zach Lewis probably more ready to play at the University of Georgia than Ikini would be. By the way, it was told the visit went really, really well. Still too early to tell. But I would think with Nnamdi being on roster already, I think you've got a leg up in that recruitment.
Chat says it's pronounced Ikane, by the way.
Ikane? Mm-hmm. Thanks, chat.
Just add that to the list of names you pronounce wrong.
Hey, it happens.
So I can ironically call Brady Marchese, but we probably better pronounce Ikane's name correctly.
Yes.
Okay. Don't know why I did that there, but the Marchese thing just it seems right.
I don't know. I mean, the new sleeve. I don't know if we can call him Marchese anymore.
I didn't even see the sleeve. Let me look at this.
It's fresh.
Yeah.
Is it on did he post it on Visit?
Yeah, there's official Visit photos.
He's like full arm sleeve tatted?
Not full arm sleeve yet, but
like to the elbow?
Yeah. He's got one on his bicep, but it ends like at his elbow, basically.
He might be the big cheese from now on.
The big cheese. I like that. I can get with that.
What is it with Georgia using records this year in their visits?
I'll get it for you, Kirby.
Oh, I see it. Very nice. Looks like it hurt. Wouldn't do that.
Good radio right there. What were you asking?
Oh, I was just asking.
Records?
Yeah, I was talking about their visit photos.
While we're talking on recruiting, there are people that are apparently worried that Justice Fitzpatrick's going to take an official visit to Ohio State 7 days after committing to Georgia.
Is that a problem traditionally?
Not for Georgia.
I was going to say, like, why is – I know that there are some, like, the Dabo Sweeneys of the world are, when you commit, you are a Clemson commit. You're not going anywhere else. We don't want you. If you do, yada, yada, yada. You're dedicated to us, and that's worked out fine. But this is the only time of your life that you will be treated this way as a football player. Like, it's the only time where you can actively choose which team you go to other than free agency in the NFL, which they're not rolling out the red carpet for you in that. Go enjoy it. I don't see why it's a problem. Obviously, the worry of Ohio State outbidding you and sweeping the rug out from under you. But we talked about this last week. He's got a great relationship with Kirby Smart.
Yeah.
All these other this is one of the recruits where you feel so good about it.
Guys, I'm asking this in general, faith and curiosity. Do you think someone whose older brother is worth $150 million is going to be swayed by the net delta of like $150,000 raise? Like, if that's what you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what Georgia fans are fearing. They're fearing that Justice Fitzpatrick is going to commit to Georgia, go to Ohio State. Ohio State's going to offer him an extra $200,000, and he's going to be like, oh, I'm a Buckeye now.
Do you think that
If it were just about money, he wouldn't have been at Georgia in the first place.
exactly? Do you think that the Caleb Downs scenario is kind of scaring fans, or is causing like some
I
PTSD from that?
I wish I could truth serum the Downs camp, honest to God. Because when I ask people in the Downs camp, who I trust, like they don't lie to me normally, I don't think. But what I want truth serum on is, did you actually ever want to play for Georgia? Or was Georgia was always just a pawn? Were they just a chess piece that you were using for leverage? Because during both recruitments, it felt like that when you end up losing it at the end. Like, oh, shit, we were just in the mix because we were in the mix. We're Georgia. But I don't know if they ever I don't know.
But to my point, this is not that situation at all.
I don't think so.
I think it maybe has more to do with the recent recruitment of Tyler Atkinson. What's the word around that is, I would say at least, of like.
You talking about the fear from Georgia fans? Yeah.
Yeah, of like knowing what Ohio State is working with Tyler Atkinson, or what is being reported about them, and now one of your commits is going up there too. Like, I feel like that's what it is. But again, I mean, kids are taking official visits all the time anyways.
Yeah, they have unlimited amount that they can take now.
Yeah.
I think it'd be goofy not to take a free ride to Columbus, Ohio.
Exactly.
Get you
and
some
eat
free
a
meals.
good, whatever
Go
steak they offer up there.
get some cool pictures.
Speaking of which, have you seen the food that apparently they were feeding Oregon recruits?
No. Was it
buddy.
good or bad?
So I saw a tweet making a
buddy.
joke about this, and I didn't get it.
Oh, man. Bad food.
What was
Bad
it?
food.
Like, what are we talking?
Like salmon that looked white. Like
Oh, that's just tilapia.
a corn side that looked less than appetizing.
I'll have to find that.
At least they're not feeding them just a bunch of trash. I mean, this is trash, but it's at least like healthy trash. I don't know.
Kind of looked like that. I mean, it was, again, not ideal.
You know what I will say? On my visit to Short, they had actually good food in the dining hall. I was
I
impressed.
thought this was about to be a joke.
No, I was being so serious about that.
What was that place called? I always hit the grill back there. They had great patty melts.
No, they took us to like one of the dining halls in the. I guess.
Oh, no, there's only one.
I was said the dining hall.
There's a dining hall at Short
It
University.
was good food. Now again, I was 17. I was like, wait, I can eat all I want for hell yeah. So, but I don't know. Maybe it was. I remember it fondly.
On a day-to-day operations basis, not ideal.
Understandable. You have more experience than I.
The pizza at the pizza bar was very akin to Chuck E. Cheese.
I thought Chuck E. Cheese pizza was fire.
I'm gonna say
Not now.
Chuck E.
Now
Cheese-
it is. Back in the day, 'twas not. Back in the day, Chuck E. Cheese pizza was cardboard with pepperonis on top.
All I remember is Chuck E. Cheese pizza was pretty good.
Not the Chuck E. Cheese I remember.
Yeah, I feel like Chuck E. Cheese pizza has always been known as like an underrated slice
All
of
right, so that's
salt.
on me. It was worse than Little Caesars.
Oh,
Yeah.
now Little Caesars pretzel pizza.
Whoa. I'm just getting straight up pepperoni at Little Caesars. I don't want to dabble in the extracurriculars there.
I'm calling
Right.
bullshit on the fact that Mans has actually tried Little Caesars in the last 12 months.
No, that's 12 months.
and
now.
the pretzel pizza of all
Yeah,
things.
Dude, I used to
Say-
love the
Not
pretzel
even just
pizza.
like
I'm going to go last 3 years. It's been 3 years since you've hit hot and ready.
No, it's been like 2.5.
here's the
Not an event like, oh, y'all got leftover Caesars
yeah, no,
left.
it's
I'm gonna,
been- it's been like 5.
called his ass out.
been
I
a
knew it.
minute.
Here's the thing,
I
though.
knew it.
Little Caesars is great that day, but it's not good the next day like some other pizzas. Like, it is a same-day pizza. You can't be eating cold Little Caesars because then it truly does turn into cardboard. The other pizza places, you can get away
Best
with
next
it.
day pizza, DiGiorno.
I don't do DiGiorno.
I never
Not
did
doing it
DiGiorno.
right. I'm not doing it
I'm more of a
right.
Jack's guy.
It was a fun little subtopic.
Pizza, man.
I want to do this NFL debate before we watch some more tape. I want to see what we can do with this. Okay. So Nick Chubb signed with the Houston Texans today. And while we were reporting on this news today inside the studio, Jonathan and I were having a general discussion of where among great NFL dogs does Nick Chubb currently reside? And I think it led us to basically a discussion of who is like, how do you rank former dogs in their NFL careers? So we got top fives. I got a top 7 actually.
Okay.
Top 7. Let's hear it.
Yep. Number 7, Nick Chubb, question mark?
I want to hear the rest of the
gotta hear
list.
the rest of them.
Number 6, Thomas Davis. Is
Okay.
Nick Chubb better than Thomas Davis? Has he had a better career?
Not yet. I'm gonna say not yet.
Okay. Hines Ward, number 5.
Hines Ward.
I like it.
Hines Ward, yes.
Fran Tarkenton, number 4.
Shout out to the older guys.
Number 3, Richard Seymour.
That's a good shout.
Number 2, Matthew Stafford. Make sure you call him Matthew. No Matty here.
Okay.
Number 1, Champ Bailey.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Champ Bailey was my number 1 as well.
I think clear cut one.
I think you're missing one. Now, this star.
Are you AJ Green in me?
No, but that's a good. I didn't even think about that one. That's also a good one.
See, I'm with
Are
Nines.
you Roquan Smith in me?
He's getting there.
He's getting there.
I mean, him and Nick Chubb are.
He's
almost
got to
like-
be like he's got to be above
like,
Chubb in my
yeah,
opinion.
honestly.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he's above Chubb right now.
And he's been a top 3 linebacker for like 8 years now.
Mm-hmm.
See,
So
like
Roquan goes above this.
Terrell Davis is getting thrown around, and
And
look,
Garrison Hurst.
Terrell Davis.
We looked it up today.
6 seasons.
Terrell Davis.
and it's really 4,
Injuries, I know, but it's really 4 seasons.
and it was 4 phenomenal seasons.
A star that burnt very bright, but burnt out quickly.
Yeah.
Those 4 seasons
bro,
were amazing.
Bro ran
but-
for 2K.
Yeah.
Like that's incredible. Like there's only been like 10 other running backs.
Bro invented wide zone.
Exactly. So like Terrell Davis deserves his shout on here. I don't know if career longevity wise you can say he's up there.
I do think that there is a discussion for Todd Gurley somewhere. As short as his career was too, I mean, I can't remember what the exact stat is, but the fact that he like still is in the top 5 for most touchdowns of running backs.
I think he
Well,
got
he's still-
surpassed this year.
He's going to get passed. But last time I checked, he was still like top 5 in yards from scrimmage and touchdowns scored for active running backs,
Man,
and hadn't played in 5 years.
yeah, like
And was still under the age of 30.
I hate how his NFL career is
when
gonna.
that stat got run.
His NFL career kind of is very
See,
similar to his college career.
I don't believe that. I think that Todd Gurley made the conscious decision to stop playing football.
No, yeah.
I don't think football was taken from him.
No. I'm not saying that, but I'm
In a
The
way
injuries, yeah.
In a way it was.
I'm just saying how
But
like
he still could be playing.
it felt like there was so much more of what
Maybe
Todd
not
Gurley
now,
was going to
but-
do in the NFL, and then obviously he made the decision to sign autographs. But
Chat's got a good shot. Where's Justin Houston in this mix? That's a 120 sack guy.
That's a veteran too.
Yeah.
NFL.
I mean, that's going to be an 18 years in the league
I
guy.
mean, he was the highest paid linebacker for a minute.
Yeah. With the Colts gave him that contract?
The Chiefs.
mm-hmm.
I thought the Colts made him the highest paid.
No, the Chiefs made him
after
the
the
highest
Chiefs.
paid.
Okay.
He was drafted by the Chiefs, I'm pretty sure.
All right, so what's your list?
I only did the best. I said
Okay.
Champ Bailey was the best. I listed all the statistics. 15 seasons in the NFL as a cornerback, first of all, is absolutely insane. And for a long, 6 or 7 year stretch, he was the best corner in the league by a mile.
Yeah.
Like that alone he had 909 total tackles, completely different breed of corners back in the day. 52 career interceptions, 203 career pass deflections, which is third all time in the NFL. Also played on the offensive side of the ball and returned punts and kicks for his.
Bro finished third all time in pass deflections, and teams never went at him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's crazy.
So I put Champ Bailey up there just because he's decorated. He had the career length, the timeliness of it as well. Like everything about Champ Bailey, I think is perfectly amalgamated into the best NFL career for a Georgia Bulldog.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think I went Champ, Richard, Stafford, Hines, Davis. I have AJ Green right now, and then I feel like I would go Chubb.
Here's a hypothetical. The Los Angeles Rams win the Super Bowl this year. Stafford throws for 3,500 passing yards.
I think he'd be top.
One.
I mean, he'd be
Really?
the highest paid Bulldog of all time. He'd have 2 rings, Hall of Famer, played a long career.
Dang.
Chat had a good mention here that I wanted to
Geno
talk about.
Atkins.
Yeah, Geno.
I
Geno
love me
Atkins
some Geno
slept.
I
Atkins.
love me some Geno Atkins, too.
He had a good run as
93
well.
with the Bengals, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good run with the Bengals.
Well, good football player. Who else deserves mention?
David Andrews deserves
David
somewhere.
Andrews
David
definitely
Andrews
does. Ben
deserves-
Jones, for that matter.
Absolutely.
I mean, Chris
That's 10
Conley
years as
deserves
center.
mention for having a 10-year career.
Yeah.
Like the rarity of being a 10-year player at a skill position,
Yeah. Wasn't the younger Stinchcomb brother like a 12-year vet for the Saints?
I believe so. That was a little
Matt didn't work out in the league. The younger one did, right?
John was his name.
John.
That was a little before my time, before I was consciously watching NFL football. But
Yeah.
I mean, there's a litany of really, really solid NFL Bulldogs.
In
Yeah.
5 years, Andrew Thomas is going to be
Absolutely.
on this list.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Just not right now. So
Who else is going to be on this list in 5 years, we think? Like someone that's
I mean, Brock Bowers
Brock
at this rate in
Bowers,
5
duh.
years will be up here.
Yeah, big smile on
Yeah,
Raider
dude.
fan face over there.
yeah, dude.
Who else?
We're missing someone.
Maybe not Nolan.
Jalen Carter.
I think
Jalen Carter.
I think some member of
Jalen Carter.
Jalen Carter.
there are some Eagles members like Jalen Carter's going to be up there.
Yeah.
Maybe Jordan Davis. They just extended him.
Yeah.
Like they're going to be. But I feel like that's also going to be like the team as a
Sneaky
whole.
pull here. Maybe Malachi Starks.
Not a bad pull.
In
Yeah.
5
way
years.
way
Yeah.
too early to tell.
Yeah.
But we'll
But
see.
would have to get off to a historic start
Mm-hmm.
to his career to be on this
I
list
found
in
out
5
that
years.
Packers fans aren't too fond of Quay Walker.
Interesting.
I don't know why.
Maybe that down-to-down consistency thing.
Maybe, but it's
Yeah.
like anytime anybody
He
outside
has
of
an
the
acquired
Packers,
taste.
yeah, I can get that. And look, he did push a ref. I get all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like he's made some silly decisions, but anybody who talks outside of the Packers space about Quay Walker, it's nothing but glowing remarks. But then there's
Yeah.
Packers fans who are like, I'd rather have Devontae Wyatt than Quay Walker for the next 5 years. Where I'm like, whoa, all right,
Look,
Hines Ward or AJ Green?
Hines Ward.
Hines Ward. But man,
Really?
like that 5-year window for
Y'all are
AJ
lying.
Green.
Hines,
Y'all are
Dude, have you
lying.
seen Hines
From a- all
Ward's
right,
career?
are you asking-
Start a roster
Are you
tomorrow.
are you
you're
at,
taking
here's the
AJ
thing.
Green.
are you asking me if I'm starting a roster or I'm asking from the career
Yeah,
standpoint?
that's the
You're
other
starting
thing.
a roster tomorrow.
Oh, there's
AJ
AJ.
Green.
If you pick a player, who are you taking?
It's
I
AJ.
would
if you're
take
picking
AJ
a-
Green with that.
But if you're picking
You're
the career,
talking
it's
about
Hines
just, like,
Ward.
Hines
career?
Ward. Hines Ward
Yeah.
had the better career.
Yeah, that's fair.
Bro had Andy Dalton tossing him the rock.
I'm saying it's a red rocket.
All right, let's
Re-
not throw too
What?
much dirt on Andy
Red
Dalton.
rifle. My bad.
The red rifle.
The red,
The
the
red
red
rocket's
rocket.
crazy.
Whoa! I know we're talking about the dogs, but come on now.
Excited to see me?
No, dude. But no, Hines Ward had a better career. And he won Dancing with the Stars, guys.
Oh, that seals it.
Just kidding. No, Super Bowl MVP.
And he was in a Batman movie. Come on.
I forgot he was in the Batman movie.
We've reached the point in tonight's chat where Christian Kirby and Marion Campbell made the same joke.
Hell yeah, dude. Shout out Marion.
Marion did not strike me as a Dancing with the Stars watcher.
I only watched it because my
But
mom.
Marion strikes me as just a general knowledge guy.
Yeah.
Like he's just a well-rounded. I know a
Well-rounded.
lot
I mean,
of
let's
things.
be honest though. If Hines Ward was Dancing with the Stars this year, we'd be writing articles about it.
That's your
Damn.
lane. I feel like.
Damn, that's crazy.
I mean, am I wrong?
I mean, the article you wrote today, I was like this close to text you like, hey, buddy, I don't know if that's like a credible list source we need to be writing from.
Don't be telling
But
the
it's-
public.
It's June, you know?
I'm scraping,
Like,
man.
fuck, I'm just trying.
I'm scraping.
I'm
man.
scraping the bottom of the barrel at this point.
I mean, I wrote an article about a study where Georgia was voted as the most cringeworthy fan base.
No, that's Tennessee by a mile.
There was a poll. This is what was funny about it is it was like Action Network did it, and it was pulled from tweets and Reddit posts.
What, just like sheer number?
Yeah, there was
Is it
like
a
a number.
mass
Like
thing?
Georgia had the most cringeworthy posts.
I'd like to know how they wrote that code.
I have no idea.
What were the inputs in that algorithm?
It's a great question.
And it's been too much time.
It's
studying
probably
the study.
it's honestly it's probably the barking.
Okay, yeah, you're probably right.
Anyone I've
But
ever
it's social media posts.
they're like they bark.
Mm.
Put them up first. Put them number one. They bark. People hate the barking, dude, which I understand. Barking at random people walking by is.
I mean, I feel like every college fan base has their things that annoy other fan bases.
I don't know. Barking's up there, dude.
barking is.
I mean,
It's funny.
it's like top tier.
Let's
What in the hell?
all. It's funny,
It's funny.
dude. Watching a drunk college kid bark at a 7-year-old.
Speaking of drunk college kids, have you seen that the same Tennessee fan, the last 2 elimination games in both sports, has been arrested with and leaving with a bloody lip? It's the same Tennessee fan.
Man, that dude
He
loves
got
the
arrested.
balls.
He got arrested in Columbus and he got arrested in Arkansas this week.
Who is this man's employer?
I don't know. You think he's employed?
I don't know, dude. Maybe.
The clip of him outside of Arkansas's baseball stadium is hysterical. He's got a nice shiner and a bloody lip and his hands behind his back.
So what I'm hearing is he doesn't have hands either.
No, he's 0 for 2.
Damn.
I think one of my favorite memories, though, during my time at UJ was a 2022 Tennessee game when we're standing at the student gate, like just a swarm of college kids, and some frat guys had a guy hooked around with a dog collar, and he was on all fours, and anytime a Tennessee fan walked by, he would just lose his mind and start barking at him. Like, and it was just hilarious to watch. It was 10 out of 10 people watching.
I miss college.
Do you guys bark? Are y'all barkers?
I don't bark at people.
Kickoffs.
Like kickoffs, you bark.
But you've never consciously barked at another human.
No, like
No.
it's like the how do you do in the Georgia like fandom of like you see some Georgia fans, you bark at one another.
Actually, no. I've definitely barked in someone's ear at a bar.
Non-ironically.
I mean, ironically, yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's always ironically though. I feel like,
You think so?
like you look like a jackass when you're doing. You don't care though.
And I think if people didn't voice how annoyed they are by it, they wouldn't do it as much. But the fact that people are always on that stupid barking is so stupid, it's like, well, now you've really just done it to yourself.
Yeah. Now you're gonna get barked at, buddy. You shouldn't have complained.
Keep your feelings to yourself.
I'd have been quiet, but now you're gonna complain about it, so I'm gonna bark at you.
The clips of the frat guys on all fours barking is funny.
Oh, man.
Exactly.
I wish I'd
It
videoed
is funny. That being
Exactly.
said, if I watch it in person, I'm like, what a jackass.
Yeah, dude.
You know? I'm like, whoa, that's cringe. You know?
It's funny though.
It's
Yeah.
secondhand embarrassment, but it is funny. As long as it's not somebody I know.
It's just a pledge.
Yeah, just freaking pledge.
The pledges. Oh, poor things. Those poor souls. What else do we have to talk about tonight?
We have film to watch. I just don't know if I want to watch it right now.
Okay.
We can play a Would You Rather.
Or, I mean, we haven't talked about Georgia baseball kind of flaming out, did we? We talked about that last week.
Oh, I did want to bring this up.
Come
you
on.
and I were talking about this earlier today when we were talking about, like, do you have to pick a sport?
Oh, yeah.
What's going to happen to
How does this affect other sports, at Georgia?
Yeah,
Jonathan?
we were talking about how does this affect the basketball program and the baseball program, and we got into a discussion of what Georgia has done, like the strides that they have taken in basketball with Mike White, and then obviously with Wes Johnson. And I kind of hypothesized that, one, we've talked about how Georgia says that they have the ins on what is happening here. They kind of know better than anybody because of the people that they have at the university, because they have Kirby Smart. And I said, knowing that information and knowing that Wes Johnson likely has talked to people at the University of Georgia about this, and the fact that he just signed an extension with the University of Georgia indicates to me that he thinks baseball will be fine. He's going to be able to operate like normal business, especially considering they have the top-ranked transfer portal class right now. Like Wes Johnson to me would not do that, knowing that there's people sniffing of him for another job. I feel like he has the vote of confidence in the baseball program.
He wouldn't be turning down Mississippi State to stay at Georgia.
Yeah, that was
if
kind of
he
my
thought
point.
he was going to be third-rate citizen
Yeah,
at his own school.
so that would tell me like
Right? You would think like
Yeah.
that's sound theory,
Mm-hmm.
sound thought process. And I'm
Yeah.
with you.
And I also like, you may know better than I. I don't know what the NIL evaluations of baseball players look like. Like I'm sure Charlie Condon's was
It's
pretty
much higher
high.
in basketball.
That's what I was gonna say. Like
Basketball player, like that kid that committed to Florida from Arkansas.
Booby Flander,
Booby, Scooby,
Booby
Dooby,
Flander, I think his name is.
whatever. He got like $5 million.
Sound like you're singing that new Cher song.
The who what?
Oh, you haven't heard it?
I heard the new song of the
Boogie
Summers,
Flames.
Rascal Flats and Akon.
No, that is not the new song.
I heard that's the new bop. I heard the kids are bamming Rascal Flats.
No, please God, no. I love Rascal Flatts, but not that song. No, that is not the song. Who told you?
Song of the summer, man.
Who told you that's the song? of the summer?
Internet been raving. They had nothing but great reviews on that
Shit, they
song.
lied to you.
I haven't heard it, but it look just visually looks like it's a bop.
Oh,
It also kind of looks like a Reese's Puff commercial, if I'm being honest.
you need to start the reaction channel.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude.
I don't
Fire
think
up the
that's
reaction
gonna
channel.
hit.
Watch the Rascal Flats
I don't think it's gonna hit like we think it might.
Akon shit. Oh my God,
Life is a Highway for real is a banger.
that is a banger.
Absolutely.
I mean, what could make Cars even better? Rascal Flats.
How old were you when you realized that was a remake? I was like 7.
30 apparently.
You didn't know it was a remake?
This is news to me.
There you go.
I just thought it was an original Cars movie soundtrack.
Nope,
So
it's a cover.
when I saw Mater pulling off that hill, I
Damn,
was like,
Pixar
God
was
dang,
in their
brother.
bag, Mom.
Woo! Rascal Flags and Pixar in their bag, cuz.
Yeah, it was the original. Was by
Owen Wilson
Tom
and Larry
Cochran.
the Cable Guy got some pull, huh?
Hell yeah, bro.
Did we make the wheel for tonight?
Did you?
No,
Did
we
you do
didn't.
your job?
All right, don't start with that.
Okay.
Voluntarily.
What do you mean?
Sorry, I didn't remind you to do your duty.
That's net, bro. I have the longest streak of consecutive shows here. I'm not letting you throw bum allegations my way.
Give us the
right?
topics. I know you got them.
Would you rather have Stetson Bennett or Brock Bowers get their jersey retired?
Both ugly numbers that nobody wears very consistently.
True.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Not like you're having a cat.
Yeah, you're not really.
Retire 19. No one's fighting you to wear it.
And it's like, you
Yeah.
can't
know?
retire 3. You can't retire 1.
Yeah, can't retire 7.
Yeah.
Can't retire 6. Like even 6, you can't retire. Too common of a number. Ain't nobody out here wearing 19 that's a dude. That's the first good football player to ever wear 19. Hell, he didn't even want to wear it. He wore 3 in high school.
This is what I would say. I would rather them retire Brock Bowers' jersey, but build Stetson a statue.
That's the secret answer.
That's
That
what
is
I
it.
would rather it be. Stetson gets the statue out front of Sanford, and then Brock Bowers gets 19 retired.
I like that answer actually.
I do too. You think Stetson shows up for his own statue memorial?
He's made it back to Athens a
What do you
couple
call that?
times.
Statue
Reveal?
unveiling?
Unveiling, yeah.
Commencement.
Commencement? That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, I would. I mean, he came back for there was some event he came back for this year.
No, he was in the fans section last year. in
No, but
street
he
clothes.
got like
No, oh yeah, he did get an award.
he got like
his-
an award on the
Yeah,
field.
he
and
got
everyone-
the walk-on award. He
The
was awarded
Burlsworth
that
Award.
one.
Oh, the Burlsworth Award.
yeah, and everyone cheered for him.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's made it back a
he'll
couple
come
times.
back.
I think it would be a Stetson move to big league your own one.
I think that history in accordance, the relationship has been mended somewhat. Because every Georgia fan loves Stetson Bennett now.
Yeah.
And I feel like Stetson Bennett's
Man,
kind of.
see, that's why he needs a statue, because then all those doubters, they got to walk by it every single time.
but they'll
they
never
go
tell
there.
you they doubted.
Who
Yeah,
cares?
I believe in them the whole time.
Internal guilt is what I'm going for.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
care what they tell you.
You're looking for personal shame.
Yeah,
That's what-
every single time.
That's what
you got to look him in the eyes.
The Stetson Bennett statue of internal guilt.
Yes.
You have to walk by that and know that you doubted him. Know
And
that
there's
you-
something in it that, like, you know how, like, in a casino, the machine can read whether or not you expected the win? When you walk by the Stetson Bennett statue, they know if you were a hater, and it rings a shame
Yeah.
shame bell right out of the
We'll
top.
get AI to do that.
Yes. That would
Yeah,
be
dude.
awesome.
The Stetson Bennett statue of internal regret.
And it just pulls up tweet receipts. I wish this old hag would get off my roster.
Yeah.
At DogFan679.
Where the hell is JT Daniels?
Yes.
Should have rode off in the sunset
Shoulda
when he
rode up-
could.
Oh,
At Dog Out East. I do think it's time to maybe think about JT Daniels against Michigan.
if JT Daniels doesn't start against Michigan, should Kirby Smart be fired?
I know it's out there.
It was out there.
I know it's
you
out
know
there.
it's out there.
Not
You
even,
know it is.
not even in question form, a declaration. If Stetson
Fact.
Bennett is the
Spoken
starting
as
quarterback against
written
Michigan,
word.
Kirby Smart needs to be fired. He's searching it. It definitely happened, dude. I lived through this era. People hated Stetson Bennett.
And you know what? Those people are saying exactly what Lee Willie right now is Wiley in the chat saying. If humble pie comes with a side of natty, I'll ask for seconds.
Yeah, dude, exactly.
If you tell me I'm an idiot with my sports opinions, but I get a dub out of it, national title style, I'll be an idiot.
Dude, the parade, the first Natty parade, when everyone was like, all right, hey, you know, this was before Stetson even announced he was coming back. He was like, you know what? Glad to see we got our Cinderella story. Now it's time for JT or for whoever to take a step back, take a step
They were Brock
forward.
Vandergriffen already.
Yeah, and then Stetson Bennett announced coming back. Oh my! We're gonna lose because of him. We're not gonna be able to repeat because Stetson Bennett's gonna be our quarterback. 1 year later, man, you know I'm sure happy I was wrong about that. Like reaping all the benefits.
Oh, here we go.
You found one?
I'm not going to read the guy's name.
Nah, blast his ass.
Blast him.
All right.
Blast his ass.
Like,
Chris
what?
Peterson on December 6, 2021.
I'm telling you, dude.
This is in response to someone saying, y'all are crazy for saying Kirby Smart needs to be fired. This is after the SEC championship game. He says, agree, but I'll say this.
People were saying he'd be fired after an undefeated regular season.
Yeah.
I'm all dog and always will be born, graduated, and donor today. But if Kirby Smart doesn't get over this QB debacle and get over the hump with Bama, his seat will get much hotter. Saturday was an awful performance by the defense and stat. No excuses.
That's not that hot of a take. And that's not as hot as I thought it was going to be. That's fairly reasonable. Like, honestly.
Look, I'm doing my best. I'm
No.
siphoning through 4 years of
By
tweets.
the way, Twitter's search engine has gotten terrible.
Yes.
No, I was going to say, shout out to Chris for putting that loss on the defense. You give up 34 points in an SEC championship game when you average like 7 all year, and you want to point fingers at Stetson Bennett? I mean, I know that's a 4-year argument now, but we're living in the past today.
This one's a little hotter. This is from Chase Edwards. He's got one more season that we can reassess, but you can't disagree that the seat is heating up. How can we employ a coach who makes the coaching malpractice decisions as a 6.5-point favorite in a title game in an undefeated season? This simply isn't good enough.
Bro was dunking on a regular season 12-0 record. Lost to Bama, and they said, fire him. He's terrible.
Stetson Bennett is a trash human being.
Damn, they went after
December 31st of 2022 from someone who claims to be a back-to-back champion on his Twitter profile now.
Exactly, dude. December 31st of 2022 would have been, dude, that would have been like the night of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl.
Yeah. Trash human being.
What time was that? Did it say what time it was?
11:15 p.m. So they were still losing.
So that they were like down by like they were down 2 scores.
He was about to go on an 81-yard scoring drive. He was about to go on an 84-yard
Hey,
scoring
shout out to that
drive.
guy for keeping it up. Didn't delete it.
Yeah, didn't say, I need to go back.
He might now. Yeah, I just searched Stetson Bennett trash, and there's a bunch of them that popped up right there.
Or remember, my favorite one was during the 22 season when he was actually like playing well. The new criticism was, well, he's 35 years old. Of course he's good.
Yeah.
Like he was too old to be good.
You notice a lot of Georgia haters kind of put that one in their back pocket now realizing that there's like 32-year-olds playing the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Stetson was the quintessential, this guy's old. Now the whole sport's old.
Mm-hmm.
It is that way, yes.
Meanwhile, Hendon Hooker was en route to a Heisman Trophy finalist, and he was old as well.
Mm. We love it.
Who was it who called him Unk after Georgia beat him?
Called
fun.
Hendon Hooker hunk?
Yeah.
It was either Stackhouse or Brinson.
It was one of the two defensive tackles.
On Instagram or
Yeah,
something?
he was
So,
like, we
Hendon-
going to see y'all again.
Yeah,
We're like,
Hendon
we
Hook-
ain't going to see you again, Unk.
Unk, you old as hell. We're not seeing you again. Guess what? They didn't see him again.
That's classic.
Poor
All right.
timing that he blew out his knee the next week. But,
That's a
you know.
shame. All right, appreciate you guys being here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button on your way out. I love you.